WeatherTech SportsCar Championship on IMSA Radio.
Hello everybody and welcome to America's National Park of Speed. It is Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin and Road America. Rain overnight and some concern from the teams about what the weather would be doing this morning as we head into race time. Well, it was damp this morning on the track for the Porsche Carrera Cup North America presented by Visit Cayman Islands, but it's dried up now, and that means all of the cars that are out on their warm-up lap now, their formation lap now, are on the tyres on which they qualified as per IMSA rules, and that means they're all on slightly used Michelin Slick Racing tyres. Hello everybody, I'm John Hindhaugh in the Haggerty Global Broadcast Centre. Jeremy Shaw is with me, and the hordes of fans who are on the grounds and have travelled in today have just cleared the pits. And why wouldn't you want to come to this part of the world? What about an hour north of Milwaukee, near Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin? It is Road America that has been tantalising and challenging drivers, teams and engineers since 1955. 4 miles around, the longest track we visit on the IMSA calendar these days. Turn one, barely a lift for the cars at the front of the field. Then downhill to turn number 5. Big braking area there and an opportunity to overtake. Same at the bottom of the hill at turn 8 before into the signature carousel. That wide right-hander that doubles back on itself and a bit more actually. Then through the fastest corner in American road racing, the kink down to Canada corner, and then uphill to the start-finish line from there. Jeremy Shaw, this one boiling up very nicely, qualifying over and done with, and tight and quick record speeds in qualifying for the 5 classes that we have here. This one with potential interruption by weather could make things, as our Porsche keys to the race are telling us, interesting strategy-wise. People are going to have to be on their toes in the pits and on the pit perches, as well as concentrating behind the wheel.
They are, John. I mean, this racetrack, as we heard a couple of the drivers say in the Michelin Countdown to Green, there's no room for mistake here. And it's, yes, it's dry, but there's certainly damp patches on this racetrack, and particularly underneath the trees. Yeah, I'm thinking the braking area down towards turn 5, and particularly the kink and the run to Canada corner. You know, it's not totally dry down there, so if you get offline a little bit, you've got to be really, really careful. And you get on the curbs here, and they are still very, very slippery. We saw a few incidents in the earlier Porsche race a little while ago. Cars just getting up on the curb and losing adhesion there. It's drier than it was then, but it's still pretty tricky out there.
We'd never make predictions here, Jeremy, other than to say pretty much anything could happen in the next 2 hours and 40 minutes. Championship implications now. If things go wrong, if you have a bad race or a non-finish here, there are very few opportunities to put it right between now and the end of the season at Michelin Raceway Road, Atlanta.
That's exactly right. For the prototype teams, there's only one more race to go after here, that being Petit Le Mans at Michelin Raceway Road, Atlanta. So the GT teams, they've got one more event in the interim at VIR, but yeah, we're down to the nitty-gritty stage now in the championship. Absolutely all to play for.
Who's hot and who's not at the moment, Jeremy? Who has the momentum? Who do you feel is coming into this run to the final few races in the best shape?
Well, you know, it's wide open. I mean, it's been nip and tuck between Acura and Cadillac all the way through this year. Coming into this weekend, each had 4 poles and 4 wins, and they've been, you know, pretty much shared amongst the teams as well. So I don't know. For this weekend, the Acuras are carrying a little bit extra weight than they were last time, 10 extra kilos on the Acuras, but the Acura was on pole position. I think, though, that the Cadillacs are strong. I think it literally is wide open going to this race. I would not want to pick a winner between Acura and Cadillac.
Just want to check in with Shea Adam with our audience in sound and vision. Good morning, Shea. Race brought forward a little bit for television commitments, but it also might actually be fortuitous and get us into the better weather window. Weather coming up, normally speaking, from the south or southwest. What can you tell us?
It's raining. It's not raining considerably, but there are little dots that are showing up on the pit lane, and it is just sprinkling ever so annoyingly. This could turn into heavier rain here quickly, though, and it is coming in from the north.
Yeah,
west.
actually, it's up right the way around us, actually, at the moment, unusually. There's very little wind to talk about. It's normally coming up from the south, but the wind has actually turned around 180 degrees since yesterday. Little dots of rain on the windows of the Haggerty Global Broadcast Centre as the green flag is being readied right in front of us. It's going to be a quick start. Headlights piercing the gloom, and the pole sitter Philippe Albacre with pretty much a perfect lap yesterday, as described to us by his team owner Wayne Taylor Racing. There was much celebration there. He's got a great start down to turn 1 at the back of the LMP2 field. Various shenanigans going on, and I think that was a change there for the lead between Stephen Thomas and Patrick Kelly as they were coming down to turn 1. But Albacre has gone weaving left and right on the run down to turn 5. Here's the GT start with the pros at the front. That's Hawksworth on the inside, the pit wall side in the bright yellow and black. Vassar Sullivan, Lexus, Matt Campbell trying to challenge there, but didn't really get into position side by side down at turn 5 for the prototypes, as the number 60 Acura of Tom Blomqvist and Richard Westbrook were disputing the position down there, and Alex Lynn's right in the mix there in the 02 Cadillac. But Albuquerque is gone, absolutely gone, driven away from a class field here. He went for it really early, Jeremy, and booted it out of turn number 14. The usual street fight from the street-based cars down to turn 5, with 2 abreast all the way through, and the rain intensifying from that side of the circuit.
Yeah, the Corvette got shuffled back a couple of positions there. Sebastian Bourdais, by the way, nearly lost he was trying to gain a position on the first corner. I think he perhaps just about did, and I think he's made up another position now, because Tom Blomqvist definitely got shuffled back there on this opening lap. But you know, you can't afford to do anything silly in these early stages. Aston Martin diving to the inside of Frankie Montecalvo down at turn 8.
Yeah, that
was good shuffling of positions going on here.
Yeah, that was the Hartler Racing team. I think that was Alex Riberas, who was slightly out of position in the GTD Pro car, the number 23 machine, fighting his way through the standard GTD field. Cross the line then. First lap in the books, and it's Philippe Albacre, the man they call Albaquick, in the number 10, the black and blue, Cunningham and Acura. He's got 1.2 seconds on the field, which is led by Alex Lynn in the Cadillac 02. He's got Richard Westbrook for company. I thought I saw Richard coming through there. Sebastian Bourdais up to 4th in the 01, the second of the Chip Ganassi run Cadillacs. Patrick Kelly and Stephen Thomas go through 52 and 11. The 2 PR1 Matheson Motorsports, so that's a change. I thought we saw that behind the leading prototypes. So Patrick into the lead ahead of his teammate, is side by side down into turn number 5, and a little bit of a bump and run there for Sebastian Bourdais. He had it done down the inside, but just tapped Richard Westbrook on the left front as the rain is beginning to intensify. It's coming in from the turn 7 area of the racetrack, so that is the south and west. Really weird conditions that we're seeing from the Haggerty Global Broadcast Centre. Really clear down towards turn 1 and threatening over towards turn 7.
Yeah, and looking across from our vantage point here, out to the west a little bit, there's definitely rain over there, not too far away at all, which it certainly seems to be, as you say, intensifying just a little bit. We should have to wait and see. It's going to be really treacherous for the drivers, and you know, several people trying to make a move there. Sebastian Bourdais really is on the charge in his early stages. I think now perhaps even up into 3rd place after making that mistake yesterday and running off the road in turn 14, not getting a qualifying time.
Pass for position for the Acura NSX Rick Ware racing car going through there, under braking down again at turn 5. We said that would be an action area, and that was Aidan Reid going through and making up a position. Really important phase of the race here. Remember our Porsche Keys to the Race drive time strategy. It's 10 minutes for the DPIs, 30 minutes for everybody else. That is a change and a problem for the GTD Pro, the number 25 BMW M-Team RLL down at turn 8. That car is not running at all, and John Edwards is desperately trying to recycle the car on the power just before the brand new Speedfield Bridge. Now 2 lanes and a pedestrian walkway on that bridge, part of a huge amount of infrastructure investment by Road America here. And John's not been able to get that car going. Race controller being very patient. Already see these safety trucks rolling to try and pull him away. If we go full course yellow, they'll be listening in. They're talking to him. Here come the leaders. Double yellows at the moment down at the bottom of the hill. And he's got it going. So really good patience by race control there. And we've stayed in green flag conditions. There was a Chevy safety truck moving towards an entry point there to snatch that car if necessary. My goodness me. Sterling work from what has been a very, very good weekend from race control just off to our right. Been some very, very good decisions this weekend from race control. Pragmatic when necessary, slapping people on the back of the hand when required, but letting the race run there rather than going for the big yellow button straight away. Excellent work.
Yeah, and that 25 team,
zero look.
Ridiculous. I mean, anything that can go wrong has gone wrong this season. And, the car grinding to a halt there, just a horrible way to start this race.
Let me go back to the point I was making from the Porsche keys to the race. Drive time strategy has changed here. For P2, for example, it would have been a 1 hour minimum drive time. That's been reduced for all classes bar DPI. DPI, the Pro class, is 10 minutes. Everybody else is now 30 minutes. That's to take into account of any possible stoppages for bad weather and to avoid any issues such as we had at Watkins Glen for the sailing 6 hours of the Glen earlier in the season. That will fundamentally change the way the teams run this race. But right now, there are drivers in there, drivers particularly, lesser experienced drivers on slick tyres on a track that is getting damper, and they have still got plenty of that 30 minutes of drive time to go. They really have to stay out at this point and try and tough this one out. At the front of the field, Philippe Albacre now with a 2.5 seconds lead in the number 10, Connington Minolta Acura. Live from trackside, in sound and vision. Good to have your company, IMSA Radio and IMSA TV. Battles in GTD Pro for the lead. Matty Campbell goes to the left-hand side. That'll be the outside, down towards turn number 1 on the black and yellow number 14 Lexus. This car ground to a halt early on in the weekend with a fuel delivery problem. Mechanics worked really hard to get it back, and it's been quick all weekend. Even at that point, it had just put in the fastest time in that session. Jack Hawksworth, man from the north of England, quite laconic about it, knew the mechanics would do their job, and what a reward for them to put the car at the sharp end of the field, and holds the lead in the GTD Pro class. You're not familiar with IMSA racing, 5 different classes of car on the track at the same time, so effectively you're seeing 5 races in one. For our international viewers, it would be like having Formula 1, Formula 2, Formula 3, Formula W, or W Series rather, and the Porsche Super Cup all on the track at the same time, rather than splitting them through the Formula 1 weekend. This is mixed category racing at its very best. And the 2 GT categories, GTD Pro and GTD, the machinery is identical. It is the grades and the experience of the drivers that are different. So there's no reason why a GTD car, the ones with the green number plates on the car, can't be as quick as the GTD Pros. It's all about how it's being pedalled by the driver. Around the world on RS2, IMSA Radio. Around the US on Sirius XM 207, and around the circuit on FM 87.9 here at Road America. This is IMSA Radio. Shay Adam down in the pit lane. How much traction has your training shoes got in the pit lane?
Not a lot. I'm sliding along the pit lane when I want to be. Otherwise, I'm putting my foot down firmly, because if you just kind of drag your feet, you'll find yourself slipping like you're in the shower. It is getting slippery out here, and the mist is getting heavier.
Becoming more and more difficult for us to see over the back of the paddock now from the western side of the racetrack. Quite heavy rain here this morning at about 6:30 when we were heading in to the track. That dried up interesting conditions for the Porsche Carrera Cup North America presented by Visit Cayman Islands. But at the moment, we're still green and we're still on slick tyres. 10 minutes gone, Jeremy Shaw, and the weather is about to play its hand.
Yeah, it looks like it, doesn't it? It's getting certainly intensifying a little bit now. I want to give a shout out to two guys in particular. One is the LMP2 leader, Patrick Kelly, who's left his teammate to the tune of 13 seconds inside 4 laps. Amazing run by Patrick Kelly, absolutely superb in colour 52. Also impressive is Jerry Kraut. At the age of 70, he's running 5th in LMP3. He's passed 3 guys already, including the championship leader John Bennett. In that JDC Miller Motorsports car number 90. Brilliant run for Jerry. And I spoke to him before the start. Yeah, the minimum drive time now for LMP2 and LMP3 is only 30 minutes, but he's planning to do more than that. And I can see why. He's having a huge amount of fun out there at the moment in car number 90.
Now waiting to hear from race control for them to call the race as wet. Now that is a formality. Why? You might think, well, we can see when it's wet, and surely we can put the wet tyres on whenever we want. Well, you have to wait for the call to allow wet tyres to be used. It was not called a wet race from the start, which is why they had to start on the tyres on which they qualified. Just waiting for the call for wet tyres to be allowed.
Seriously?
Yeah.
I've never heard that before.
Yeah, wet race hasn't been called yet.
You know, you call that before the start of the race.
Right, okay.
I think it's up to the teams, isn't it, once the race has started?
I presumed that because that hadn't been called before the start of the race is why everybody had to start on their qualified tyres. If they'd called it a wet race, you could have started on any tyre.
No, if it's called a wet race, you have to start on wets.
Right,
If there's no call, you can choose whatever you like.
Yeah, so in this case, the tyres that you qualified on. Yeah.
Yes, right, correct.
Leaders are coming through traffic now, and Albuquerque's lead that was 1.2 seconds has been cut in half by Alex Lynn for Cadillac Racing. Down through turn 1 for Alex with his teammate Sebastian Bourdieu. Sebastian didn't have the best day yesterday, made a mistake going into turn number 14, dropped his left-hand side Michelin's off the track and caught the edge of the curb, which speared him into the gravel trap and ended everybody's session actually, brought the red flag out. Uncharacteristic mistake. It's now getting very hectic indeed. 1, 2, 3 across the track, and a side-by-side contact down to turn 5 between the number 5 of Richard Westbrook and the AM number 27 Roman DeAngelis driven Heart of Racing Aston Martin. And big day for young Roman DeAngelis and that team. They are championship contenders, no doubt at all. As now the Richard Westbrook car goes by his teammate down into turn number 8 at the bottom of the hill. So a very feisty opening to this race, and still only 13 minutes having been completed. 30 has to be completed before we have reached drive time for the first set of drivers. It looks like a traffic jam out there, and the drivers having to use every bit of concentration as they carve their way through the braking areas. Now the leaders coming through the GTD Pro battles at turn 14. Philippe Albacre, Alex Lynn already through there with Sebastian Bourdieu. They've just gone past us here in the Hackney Global Broadcast Centre. Here comes Richard Westbrook, who's been pressured now by Tom Blomqvist. And they've got the battle for the lead in GTD Pro ahead of them going into turn number 1. That's where Jack Hawksworth is now for Lexus. Really good driving by these two as they dispute the front of the field. Matt Campbell for Pfaff Motorsport, the Haggerty driveway Porsche. There goes Westbrook past both of those, followed by Blomqvist. He goes to the inside. That was video game-esque there, going down towards turn number 5. 1 or 2 cars with wipers running now as well. That's a sure sign that it's getting heavier. Olivier Plat starting the number 31 Whelen Engineering red and white Cadillac that he shares with P. Porterani, the popular Brazilian driver. And now that battle for GTD Pro, heading through turn 7. Downhill braking area to turn 8. Do you know what? I think it's easing off.
Well, it certainly isn't.
It hasn't got any heavier,
no,
has it?
it hasn't over the last few minutes. And just looking out to the west, it looks maybe even a little bit clear out towards those trees, kind of up towards Elkhart Lake itself. Let's hope.
When you want an answer on the rulebook, go to lead pit lane official Johnny Knotts. All right, so what happened was the race was declared, which meant that it was not a wet declaration, and people had to start the race on their qualifying tires. Those tires had to be on the car within 10 minutes of the race starting. You can't touch the cars once the 10-minute to go mark is given, as we do have a pit lane caller, and it is John Edwards. His car sounded quite poor the last time the 25 BMW came by the start-finish line. I'll walk up that way to try and get an answer on that. But it is at the discretion of the teams to whatever tires they should choose to put on the car once the cars have left the pit lane and the race has gone green. So we are not waiting for a call to say go ahead and put on the wet weather tires. Basically, we're waiting for teams to be gutsy and decide to take that risk themselves.
Thank you, Shea. The key point that it wasn't declared wet at the start meant that they had to put those qualifying tyres, the slick tyres on. Thank you, Shea. We got part of the way there on that one. The key number in terms of minutes to go is when we get round to 2 hours and 10 minutes. 2 hours and 10 minutes will be the 30-minute drive time. We've already passed it on DPIs, by the way. The front of the field, the pro class, it is just a 10-minute run. And that opens up the strategy, absolutely. Great running at the sharp end of the field by Philippe Albacre. He's weathered that storm. A very bad choice of words there, wasn't it? But he has managed to get through the traffic, that first tranche of traffic, Jeremy, when Philippe Albacre had his lead cut from 1.2 seconds to 0.6. And in fact, actually now, he's pulled out again over Alex Lynn.
Yeah, new fastest lap of the race last time around, 1:53.0 for Albuquerque, but Alex Lynn's on a good lap now. He got kind of bottled up in that traffic on that last lap, as you say, that lead kind of ballooned out again. So interesting to see how long it takes him to reduce that deficit again. But fascinating contest going on out front. The two Cadillacs, they're pulling away from Richard Westbrook in that 4th position, who's got, I'm sure, a very frustrated Tom Blomqvist right behind him, and Olivier Pla making another 3-car train.
Early doors here in the race. This is the early bids, if you will. Remember our Porsche keys to the race, drive time strategy, get your pit stops right. You don't want to make any more than you need to. It's a long pit lane here. Minimise or eliminate penalties, and then make sure you've got the right tyres on at the right time for whatever weather might come our way. Early pit stop for BMW MRLL team. Shea Adam is watching the 25 of John Edwards.
It's no wonder that I could hear that something was wrong on this car, John. The floor is broken at the left front of the car. This is behind the left front wheel, but it looks like John had some serious side-to-side contact that actually broke one of the brackets, holding the upright and the floor in place. So it's going to be a bit longer of the stop while the crew assesses the damage and tries to figure out a way to duct tape it back together. And also the electronics issue that caused the car to stop out on the track. They opened the passenger side door and the driver's side door. There was no resounding resolution. So let's see if they can get this fixed outside on this side of the pit lane instead of taking back to the garage.
Shea Adam in the pit lane, Jeremy Shaw, John Hindhaugh, and Ashley Freiberg joins us in the booth for a little driver's eye view. You've got to go out later on for your 2nd race of the weekend. Welcome back to the IMSA paddock, and what a way to come back with the Lamborghini Trofeo. Been away for a while, look forward to being back. How was the first runs in the car? I know the race didn't go how you wanted, but how did you feel getting back in the car for the first time in a while?
You know, being away for 5 years is quite a bit of time, so to be honest, I didn't know what to expect. I didn't really get any test time. It was a last-minute call from NTE Sports, so I was surprised how fast I remembered how to drive. So got up to speed pretty quick, and I'm just so stoked to be back in the car.
They are a proper racing car, those Super Trofeo cars, aren't they? Probably the quickest things in a straight line round here, I would have thought.
Oh yeah, we're hitting 172 on the straightaways here, so they're super, super quick.
What's the key to this circuit, Ashley, particularly for the GT drivers? Great scrap at the front of GTD Pro at the moment between Jack Hawksworth and Matty Campbell there. Where can you make or lose a lot of time around here?
Well, Road America has got these huge straightaways, so it's really all about getting the exit off the corner, being really aggressive on the brake pedal, and then you've got your high-speed corners like the Carousel, the Kink, and Billy Mitchell. So it's got a good mix of everything, but really focusing on exit speed, and I can see the track's kind of drying up, so you're really looking for where the grip is right now.
How much can you feel as a driver? Everybody started on slicks. You get that raindrop on your windscreen, but it must be quite a while before it starts to affect the grip. Is it more, in some ways, is it more like a mental thing that you're seeing on your windscreen?
Yeah, I mean, if it's drizzling just a little bit, doesn't necessarily mean the track's really slick. So you kind of have to feel it in the seat of your pants and in the wheel. When the grip starts to go away, you feel the car get a little bit light through the corner. And that's when you start to maybe drive offline a little bit and try to find where the grip's at.
I ride a motorcycle, and as soon as I start seeing drops of rain on my visor, I start riding quite tense because I hate riding in the wet because I'm not very good at it. You must have to throw that out of your mind when you're driving and you see those spots on the windshield.
Oh, for sure. Driving in the rain is all about finesse. You have to be really, really smooth, so you have to stay relaxed. And yeah, you can also see where the track is slick based on the shininess on the track. If it's really shiny, you know that it's slippery. You see it's more of a matte color, that's where the grip's at.
Stay with us, Ashley. Jeremy?
Well, just a quick question. I mean, this is where you started your racing. I mean, you were originally from the Chicago area, so back home again for you, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. I live in Vegas now, so I'm in the middle of the desert where it's super hot. But it's nice to be back in the Midwest. And yeah, I race go-karts here, shifter karts.
See a bit of greenery as well in the America's National Park of Speed. Stay with us. I've got some more questions for you in a moment. Jeremy, time's coming in at the sharp end of the field, and Sebastian Bourdais has gone past his teammate now.
He has indeed, up into second position, and Bourdais from sixth on the grid, so he's going in the right direction. Tom Blomqvist is absolutely not. He's gone from third on the grid down to sixth position, so the championship leader clearly struggling in these sort of conditions. I'm surprised at that, quite frankly, because I would have thought, generally pretty good in these sort of conditions, certainly giving his family lineage.
Yeah, he is second generation, distinct Blomqvist, and did a lot of racing over in Europe. 5 consecutive second place finishes for the number 60 Meerschaank Racing team that has taken them to the top of the field. It's drying up out there, and I can tell that because there's a lot of green times, personal best times coming up onto the screens at the moment. We still have about another 7 minutes before drive time has elapsed. Let's take a VP Racing Fuel in-race update, starting with GTD. Robbie Foley, 24th overall, leads for Turner Motorsport from Robert McGuinness for Carbon with Peregrine's Lamborghini Huracan, the number 39, the dark grey green car. He's just put in the fastest lap of that category last time around at 2:09.7, so it is drying up. Third is Stephen McAleer for Team Korthoff in the AMG GT3, the number 32. In GTD Pro, it's Antonio Garcia in third for Corvette Racing, second Matt Campbell for Pfaff Motorsport, who is just about holding on to Jack Hawksworth for the Vassar Sullivan RCF GT3, the number 14 car, about half a second, half to 3/4 of a second, depending on where they are on the circuit. They're heading down towards turn 8 now. In LMP3, Malte Jacobsen from pole position, and Sean Creek Motorsport is the fastest man in that class. He's just brought the fastest lap down to a 2:03 flat ahead of Cam Shields of Performance Tech Motorsport, Cameron in the 38 car, and Jared Andretti in the Andretti Autosport number 36 has just put his and the car's fastest lap in at 2:05.645. LMP2, Patrick Kelly has cleared off. I reckon Patrick Kelly somehow managed to sneak a DPI onto that LMP2 chassis. He's just disappeared. Super driving. 35 seconds to the good, 39 seconds to the good from Stephen Thomas in second, and he's just put another fastest lap of that class in, a 1:56 at 6 there. And Dennis Anderson for the red and white number 20 High Class Racing in third. At the front of the field, it's a second and a half now between Albuquerque and the charging Sebastian Bourdais in the first of the two Cadillacs. 10 from 0-1, from 0-2. Shea Adam down in the pit lane.
You mentioned Patrick Kelly there, John, and I think I know what's fueling his fire a little bit more. The 2020 LMP2 champion was looking forward to this race so much in that season. Well, this was one of the few that he did not wind up on the top step of the podium. He didn't wind up on the podium at all in that race. So for Patrick Kelly, today is all about redemption.
So that is your VP Racing Fuel in race update. 3 wide across the line in front of us, and 3 prototypes, and now they've got to pick their way past Jonathan Edwards' car. John Edwards' car. Excuse me, that's Madison Snow in the number 1 Paul Smith racing machine. Dennis Anderson right in the middle of that in the high class racing, number 20, and somehow everyone has got through. 3 prototypes across the line there, tremendously spectacular, and I realised that I took a step back from the window there as they were going by us. 37 cars started this race. Around 4 miles, that's not a huge traffic coefficient, but you tend to come across clumps of cars driving together. Lamborghini down the inside, that's a pass for position in GT as the number 12 RCF of Frankie Montecalvo is under pressure from Jaden Conwright, the inaugural winner of the IMSA Diversity Scholarship in the NTE SSR. So effectively, you've been teammates with those guys this weekend. What was the spinner down at turn number 8? And that was Stephen Thomas from the number 11 car from 3rd in LMP2.
Whoops.
It's raining harder down there, and he slid off into the gravel. He's going to get himself stuck. Oh, he almost got himself pointing in the right direction. That is not coming out of there, and that will be our first yellow flag with 4 minutes to go. 4 minutes to go before we get to drive time. So he was spinning right in front of Dennis Anderson. Well done to everybody, including Alex Lynn and Sebastian Bourdais. He got it pointed sort of in the right direction, but the grass is so slippery down there that he misjudged his flick turn and spun into the gravel. Ashley Freiberg is with us in the Haggerty Global Broadcast Centre, running for the Lamborghini Trofeo later on for NT and SSR. So you've been seeing these guys working in the big class as well, I presume. Jaden's a cracking driver, really coming on very well.
Yeah, absolutely. And he actually raced Super Trofeo at Watkins Glen before this weekend, and he did great, qualified on pole. So before I came here, I was definitely picking his brain on how to drive this car because it is a new model since I last drove it. So
many differences?
There's a few differences. It has a lot more downforce. The brakes are a lot better. I think the front grip's a little bit better as well. So just a few minor things, but I mean, still very helpful to know before I came here.
We'll let you get away in a second because I know you've got to go and prepare for your race. What does preparation involve here? First of all, you've got to take a guess on the weather, but other than that, how will you prepare for the race this afternoon?
A lot of watching video, studying data, talking to my engineer. Before this race, I actually was watching the Porsche GT3 Cup race just to see what they're doing with the rain line, because it's been a minute since I've been here. So it's just a lot of observation and taking little bits and pieces and putting it together once I get out there.
It's been far too long since we spoke to you, Ashley. 5 years, far too long. Welcome back to the IMSA paddock. We wish you well. Are we going to see you again? Is this the start of your comeback? Are we going to say that?
Absolutely. I'm coming back.
Excellent. Like you've never been away. Ashley Freiberg joining us in the Haggerty Global Broadcast Centre. And let's go to Shea Adam down in the pit lane. Recovery underway for Stephen Thomas. I think he's going to lose a lap, but it looks to me as though it's raining a little heavier outside.
It definitely is, John. I've put my raincoat on, but the problem is, do you stay out on the slick tires or do you put the reins on? Because since this pit lane window will open up once minimum drive time has been met, it looks like everybody and their mother is going to be coming down the pit lane to do a driver change, just because you don't want to get caught out on the wrong side of a potential red flag. Now, we're not playing this race as if we're going to get a red flag, but you can't afford to not have both of your drivers hit that minimum time. I did see several of the DPI teams with rain tires up against the wall, then scrambling to pull them back to go back onto the slick Michelin rubber. But that being said, there are very few new sets of tires, i.e. not scrubbed in, because everybody realizes these are dangerous conditions at this point.
We have 52 seconds before the 30 minutes is up. So by the time pit lane opens, it will be spot on. So that takes some of the strategy call out of what will happen. 30 minutes drive time for all classes bar DPI, which was 10. Plenty of places to shelter under the trees here with the bleachers, with some of the new golf cart terracing, and lots of new hard standing and trails around the circuit since I was last here in 2019. Called the races from afar for the last couple of years. My goodness, it's lovely to be back, and well done to everybody involved with Road America. The husbandry of this area is exemplary, and no wonder you are rewarded with big crowds, and it has been a big crowd, huge crowd here yesterday, lots of people camping. I know there's been some problems with diseased ash trees in this part of the world, and particularly here at Road America, but even that has been turned into a positive by the circuit here. Some trees that have been cut down, they've been turned into fabulous sculptures, and new foliage and trees being planted to cover that in the future. Big round of applause for all of the improvements and the continued investment in Road America. The founders would be very proud indeed, absolutely upholding the ideals of what this circuit was built for back in 1955. And the good news is that it continues with a full repave of the classic layout starting in October this year. The investment continues. Now, there's a pass around going on at the moment, which will get some of the P2 cars and some of the GT cars by our Corvette C8 safety car. Basically, anybody who is between the safety car and their class leader, Jeremy, gets to go back around. Multi-class racing, it's easy to affect some of the other classes rather than the top class when you have to call a safety car for obvious safety reasons. This mitigates some of that.
Yeah, it absolutely does, and it takes away any disadvantage that would have been caused purely by the timing of the safety car. Oops, there's a spin there under yellow for Dennis Anderson.
He's just had the pass around.
Yes, he has.
So he was trying to hustle around. Now, he'll have to be careful. He's not got any lock there. He's just about made it. Now, can he get back in front of the safety car?
No, he can't.
Now, will he be allowed to go by again here? I think he's on the radio. I think he'll be all right. He won't be able to pass anybody else, but my bet was he was hustling around, coming out of turn one and just lost it. Yes, that's exactly what's happened. And he was very lucky not to hit the wall there. And I don't think that'll extend this full course yellow because he's getting back around. But that shows you how difficult it is. Downforce car, of course, as you drive slower, bizarrely, it actually makes things more difficult because you don't have the grip. We're hearing that number 20 car of Dennis Anderson may have been involved in Stephen Thomas spinning, and that's being looked at the moment. The number 11 car, which caused this full course caution, going into the gravel, trying to recover at turn 8. Certainly was in the vicinity of that, but race control making sure that everything was above board.
It certainly caught him up, and he was 7 seconds behind him only a couple of 3 laps before, but Dennis made that up, being pursued as he was, Dennis Anderson, by both Henrik Hedman, particularly Henrik Hedman. John Ferrano had fallen back somewhat in Carlin Barrate. They certainly made some big grounds towards catching Stephen Thomas, who had a brilliant run yesterday in qualifying, was thrilled to get that pole position just ahead of his teammate Patrick Kelly, but in the race, man, Patrick's just left him absolutely far behind. He pulled out well over half a minute in that first dozen laps. Very, very impressive. And Stephen Thomas, he's only been racing for 2 or 3 years. Patrick Kelly was out of racing for a long time, but he did some GT3 Cup back in the day, 10 years or so ago. So he's got relatively a lot of experience over the years. Plus, his job, if you like, he's a game director, basically creative director for various various popular games, of which I know nothing, but he's a kind of a leader in his he's a leader in his field, is Patrick Kelly. He was involved in Call of Duty and Modern Warfare and games such as that.
First-person shooter games, excellent. Okay, a lot of people will know what Jeremy's talking about there. Hello to Fair Use here in the US, listening in on IMSA Radio at imsaradio.com. If you're outside the US, you can get pictures there as well. Alan Prosser doing his usual great job as well. And Ben Wedge here at the track has tweeted at IMSA Radio. He said, now it's a heavy mist or light rain in Turn 8 anyway. Enough moisture, I've had to put the rain gear back on. Ben, thanks for letting us know. And let's head down to the pit lane from the Haggerty Global Broadcast Centre, where Shea Adam is watching for tyre choices here. It's still dry. It's got to be on slicks.
It's not dry in the pit lane anymore. We've got, by and large, 2 different radar systems going on for the 2 different categories of car, so it seems. In the prototype class, it looks like slick tire choice for all of the teams that I've seen, both LMP2 and DPI. As far as GTD is concerned, both Pro and Normal, well, they all have rain tires up on the wall, except for 2 cars. That would be the 14 Lexus. They've not yet decided on tires, but they do have slick ones up on the wall ready to go. They do have wet ones close by as well. And FAF have both varieties available, so it will be a game time decision. But the prototypes come in first. There will be driver changes in what looks like almost every single car throughout that field. Definitely going to be Pipo Derani, Ricky Taylor, and Ollie Jarvis for the 31, 10, and 60 respectively. And here they come down the pit lane. It's a very long trundle, and they have to stay at the pit lane speed limiter. I'm also looking down to see the number 5. That's the JDC Racing, the Mustang Sampling Racing. They do not have Vautier in the car. Vautier up on the wall, so it looks like they're going to leave Westy in the car for a little bit longer. But watching the DPI stops, we have all 6 of them in the lane. And Sebastian Bourdais staying aboard that car. Renger van de Zande not yet suited. Alex Lynn staying aboard the 02. Driver changes for the ones that I mentioned earlier, though, Pipo Derani, and it is slick tires for all of these cars. Philippe Albacre is out. He did not get the monsoon that he hoped for, but now it's Ricky Taylor's turn to go. Tom Blanca, slow getting out of the car, shakes his head. It's used tires on the 02 and the 10. Those are scrubbed rubber, so they will not be as slippery. They were shiny and new for the 01 and the 60, so the Cadillac and the Acura respectively. Cadillac is sent first, but I think the 10 is the first car back out of its box. Yes, indeed. Beautiful stop for Chip Ganassi Racing's boys and girls. A new tail going on to the 60. No, they're pulling the engine cover off. There is a problem for the championship leader. The nose has come off as well. John, this is disaster for Meyer Shank Racing.
We'll keep you up to date with that with Shea Adam down in the pit lane. And they seem to be working on the steering arms and the top suspension. They're making a suspension change. I think they might be going to a more wet setup on that car. I think they're loosening things off there, Jeremy, on that car. They're doing it under the best opportunity. They're not going to lose a lap here. This is rolling the dice a little bit, isn't it?
Yeah, potentially, certainly. But I mean, he's really struggled. We talked about it a while ago, and he was losing a lot of time to particularly the other Acura, but even to the other contenders in the class. He's fallen a long, long way back, and so it was a major struggle. So hey, look, nothing ventured, nothing gained. Before we go back to green, there will be the class split. So even though he's going to come out at the back of all the prototypes, before we get back to green, that number 60 car is going to be able to haul up onto the tail end of the other DPIs. So nothing ventured, nothing gained. This is a really good move by this team. The guy was clearly struggling. Oliver Jarvis is going to take over that car, hopefully not struggle as much with this change to the setup.
The only other thing I can think of is that they'd made some changes beforehand and they haven't worked. But Shea's getting closer to that car. They have changed the whole rear wing section on that car for one that came up from behind the wall. So either they started on an aggressively wet setup and it wasn't working with the slick tyres, or they were on a halfway house setup on the slick tyres and it wasn't working. but they've clearly changed the downforce setup at the rear of the car. Tom Blomqvist wasn't liking the balance on that car. Slick tyres went on, used slick tyres went on that car, and Ollie Jarvis was plugged in with just on 2 hours to go. The championship leader then, with very different strategy from everybody else. Now, they've lost track position in terms of where they were. Well, actually, no, they haven't, because they dropped to the back of the class anyway.
Exactly, and as I was just saying, before we go back to green, John, when they have the class split, he'll be able to move back up onto the tail of the DPI.
Correct.
So absolutely nothing ventured, nothing gained.
Shea Adam has asked the team what the situation was in terms of their setup. What did they start on? Slick tyres they had to start on, Shea, but what was the setup they started on?
Well, they didn't know they were going to be starting on slick tires until about 10 minutes before the start of the race. They were on a wet setup, anticipating more rain. They have now gone back to a more dry one, and don't be surprised if they come back in to finish the changes. They got most of what they wanted done, but still they can make it a little bit better for Ollie Jarvis.
So does that mean, Shea, that they have rolled some downforce off that tail that they put on? If you're on a wet setup, you normally have more downforce, so they've trimmed the car out a little bit as well?
Correct.
Right, okay, thank you, Shea. Shea Adam down in the pit lane. It will be the GT cars coming in this time around. Shea, I like the idea that you posited that they all had a different set of radar, but I've just seen quite a lot of shuffling around of tyres in the pits, the GT pits opposite us.
Well, remember I said GT were clearly looking at a different radar? Well, they are, because everybody that I can see up and down the pit lane have wet weather tires. We've now got them out for Corvette Racing as well. Driver changes up and down the field. For FAF, it will be Matthew Jaminet taking over Jordan Taylor in the number 3 Corvette, Ben Barticoat in the number 14 Lexus, and Aaron Thielett's hometown hero in the number 12. We've got Maxime Martin for the number 27 Aston Martin, the sister car, the 23, Ross Gunn taking over there. Connor De Filippi is up on the wall for the 25 BMW. We'll have to see if they actually did make drive times for John Edwards, because they spent a good amount of time in the pit lane, and time in the pit lane does not count. We've got the AMG leading the championship into the pit lane. Stephen McAleer started the race. He's going to be kicking himself right now, because these are his kind of Scottish conditions, but it is time for Mike Skeen for Wright Motorsport. This was the best possible opportunity. Jan Halen getting in for Ryan Hardwick. We've got for the number 96 Turner Motorsport BMW, Bill Oberlin getting in for Robbie Foley, the 39 Carbon Lamborghini. That is Jeff Westphal in place of Rob McGuinness. We've got Brian Sellers in the number 1 Paul Miller Racing BMW now. Phil Ellis in the 57 Mercedes for Windward Racing. The Acura, the 51 Rick Ware Racing, now has Ryan Eversley aboard. We've got a driver change for the number 79 Mercedes. That would stop taking a little bit longer. Daniel Giancarella took over there. Marco Holzer is aboard the number 42 Lamborghini for NT Esport. And John, everybody, wet weather tires.
Really? Very interesting. Less downforce, of course. Less downforce on those cars. So you're relying a little more on mechanical grip. And remember what Bill Oberlin was saying in our Michelin Countdown to Green, for those of you who were with us earlier on. The Michelin wet tyre traditionally has been very good in transition conditions. And so from wet to dry, or from dry to wet, it will still give you good performance. Interesting to hear that that new BMW that those guys are driving, new for this season, they've run it on wet Pirelli tyres, wet Hankook tyres, but never on wet Michelin tyres. The car had a good balance on one of those other manufacturers. Bill was too diplomatic to say which one didn't work for it. Let's go down to Shea Adam. We're still under yellow for that recovery of Stephen Thomas's car. That has happened. He is rolling again. Stephen McAleer down in the pit lane.
Stephen, these are your kinds of conditions. GTD Championship points leader, light rain. How difficult was it to actually get out of the car?
I just said to Walt, our engineer and strategy guy, I said, tell Mike hopefully he enjoys 2 hours in the rain, because I'm a little bummed right now. You know, it sucks for whatever car went off and caused the caution there, but it certainly was needed. If we had stayed under green there with those conditions getting a little worse, it was a matter of time before we had an accident. So I think everybody's on reins. Looks like we lost a couple of spots in the pits, which I'm not too happy about. We'll see if we can pick that up. It's 2 hours to go, but Mike is fantastic in the rain. I'm a little jealous right now, but I think he's going to do a great job. And as of right now, the 2 cars that are closest to us in the points are behind us, so we'll see if we can hang on.
Yeah, I mean, mate, you can always let him drive 30 minutes and then you jump back aboard. You can just be nice to the strategist. Got to ask about the conditions, though. It was a little bit sketchy out there at that point.
That last in-lap behind the pace car was very easy to get yourself in trouble with the slicks on your tire just cooling down and stuff. So not a surprise that somebody spawned in the behind the pace car there. So it's going to be interesting. I hope Mike enjoys himself. If I could have fed him some halibut last night like I did at Laguna, and maybe if he was sick in 30 minutes, I can get back in. But yeah, I'm excited. This should be a good fun for the fans here.
Thanks, Stephen. Good luck the rest of the way.
Thanks, Shane.
You can almost hear the disappointment in his voice there, Jeremy, couldn't you? He's like,
Yeah.
this is like, oh, this is my time. This is my time.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
Shea says 30 minutes time, possibility. Nobody can go at the end from here, so there will be another pit stop for that car.
Yeah, there'll be several more pit stops
Yeah.
for that car, but that's why I don't like the fact that we changed this minimum drive time before the start of the race when, if it's just a bit of rain, who cares? I think that was a knee-jerk reaction that didn't need to be made at that stage, quite frankly. So I think that's rather disappointing for several drivers. Just to drive half an hour in a 2 hours and 40-minute race, that's not a lot of fun, particularly when you're a pro driver like
Battling for the
Stephen
championship
is.
as well.
And the other guys up front as well. Yeah, it's kind of, anyhow, it is what it is. You talked about number 11 car getting out of the gravel. Not only that, he got back. He'd lost a lap, but he stayed out when everybody else came into the pits, did Stephen Thomas, and he's just got the wave around, so he's now back on the lead lap in LMP2. So that number 11 car of Stephen Thomas, the pole sitter, is now back on the same lap as everybody else.
The number 6 Mershank Racing car with Ollie Jarvis aboard back in for a very quick stop, and not sure what that was for. There were wet tyres up on the wall, but they were not used. They did not change the tyres for Ollie Jarvis. Thought they might have been doing a little bit more work. I wonder if they just did something at the back of the car that I missed. Maybe changed the rear wing angle or took off a gurney flap or something like that. Wasn't time to put one in, but he's going to be at the back of the line, but there will be the DPI class split. In fact, that is happening now. So Ollie making the actually quite nerve-wracking run down the outside of the GT cars. You've got to hope that they're not trying to put heat into their tyres and having to drive offline. He is still on slicks. He's being very careful down towards turn 5. That he knows that everyone knows that he is coming. Watching his rear view as well as he comes through. The tall Englishman with an impeccable record for major manufacturers. Former Audi Works driver. Just coming into the prime of his career, I would say. Good development driver as well. Surely there'll be some opportunities for Ollie in the new DPI era. Real benchmark for any team to be able to put OJ into the car. Having driven at the very highest level in the old LMP1 hybrid eras.
Yeah, and that's a GT shuffle around there with the Corvette now in the lead of that class. Great pit stop as ever by Corvette Racing. Gets Jordan Taylor out ahead of both Ben Barnicat and Matthew Jaminet, the number 14 Lexus and the number 9 Pfaff Porsche. They've been running in that same order, the number 14 and the number 9, but number 3 Corvette leapfrogged not only them, but also the first couple of cars in GTD, which have stayed in the same order, number 96 and 39. So brilliant pit stop by the number 3 team. In third position then in GTD is Aaron Thielitz in the second of the Vassar Sullivan Lexus. Home state for Aaron Thielitz, of course, from Rice Lake in Wisconsin. But North lives in Minneapolis, Twin Cities areas at the moment, but that's where he's from. But it looks like the safety car is in, and we're going to go back to green in very tricky conditions here, particularly as all the prototypes are still on slicks, aren't they?
And cold slicks at that,
Yeah.
Jeremy, albeit with a heat cycle on them. Sebastian Bourdais' redemption is now complete. He's driven up through the GT. I nearly said GTP field there. I'm a year ahead of myself. DPI field. And takes the lead round the outside into turn 1. Ricky Taylor, absolutely nothing for him. And Taylor's going backwards at the moment. The Acura struggling, having restarted at the front of the field. And Bourdais had a problem down at turn 3. And here comes Alex Lynn, side by side. Goes through into the lead. No, check that. It's Richard Westbrook. Excuse me. Westy's gone through. Alex Lynn and Sebastian Bourdais left in his wake now. These are Richard Westbrook conditions. And the black and silver number 5 restarted in 5th position for JDC Miller Motorsports. The Mustang sampling car, absolutely outstanding. Ding ding, seconds out, round 2 at the front of GTD Pro, where it's still Lexus versus Porsche. But now coming to join in the fun.
Well, yeah, but they've got past the Corvette then, because the Corvette
That's
was
right.
leading at the restart.
That's a good point. So both of the Taylor boys very, very circumspect in the wet conditions. There was a little bit of side-by-side action when the Lexus went through on the Corvette, and then a big sideways moment on the curb for the number 3 Corvette of Jordan Taylor. Yeah, he did get a little bit of a bump and run at turn number 7. And through they have gone. Still sits in 3rd position.
So all the GT cars are on wets, and all the prototypes on dries. That's going to be interesting.
You've got to think that's downforce versus grip related, haven't you?
Yeah.
This is going to be a really bonkers few minutes till they settle themselves down and get some heat back into the tyres. It is I'm afraid, a vicious circle. And we have a penalty. I'll come back to my thought in a moment. It is the high-class car. Shay's just told me there was definitely damage on the back of the number 11 cars. If it had been hit, well, the stewards have seen even more than we have. As off has gone the number 31 at the final corner. And that is Pipo Durrani.
So Richard Westbrook, is Westbrook on wets?
I think
he must be.
I didn't see that pit stop. I was watching the 0-2. Westy's coming in. He's coming into the pit lane.
Who is?
Sorry, 6-0 coming into the pit lane. Ollie Jarvis, as the rain is getting worse.
Westbrook has checked out. Absolutely checked out. 12 seconds clear. He's got to be on wets.
He's got to be on wets, and that's what Ollie Jarvis is coming in for now. There was a brand new set of wets up on the wall, and Pipo Durrani has rejoined and gone through. So crucial. I said this was going to be a crucial time of the race. High Class have got the penalty drive-through for contact with the number 11. Let's catch up on that. It's Fabio Scherer behind the wheel of that car that Dennis Anderson started. So JDC looks like they gambled on putting some wet tyres on the car. Shea is going to check that. See if we can see down through the slats as they go through. Not quite. He's in a different postal code to everybody else at the moment.
Yeah, he's got to be on wets and grinning from ear to ear.
Meantime, the battle for first in GTD Pro down at turn 5 a minute or two ago. Got a little physical, and not in the Olivia Newton-John sense. Look it up, kids. On the curb on the right-hand side, the Pfaff Motorsport Porsche. Very difficult to get it slowed down there. That's a change of driver for that car, don't forget. And Mathieu Jaminet now in that car, who is battling with Jordan Taylor there. Ben Barnicut has taken off in the Vassar Sullivan Lexus RCF. So that was the battle for second and third, and the Porsche finds itself down in 3rd position now as it goes through Canada Corner.
Must be some local knowledge here from JDC Miller Motorsports. They're from Minnesota, not Wisconsin, but close enough. And he is just absolutely gone in the lead. He's 15 seconds clear of Louis Delatraz in the LMP2 car in 2nd position. Right behind him is Juan Pablo Montoya. That's going to be interesting. And Josh Pearson also ahead of Sebastian Bourdais. Are the P2 cars on them? I think they must be on Yeah, they've got to be on wets as well. No question.
So it's Cadillac of Richard Westbrook that leads, 3 wide a moment or two ago, coming up the hill, and there are some cars that are struggling for grip coming up the hill. So some of the P2s are still on slicks, I reckon there, Jeremy, because looking at how they're struggling for grip coming out of turn 3, coming out of turn 14, and how other people are driving around them, including Richard Westbrook, who is ridiculously quick at the moment. It's Louis Delatraz up into second overall now for the number 8. That is the Tower Motorsport machine. They are on wets, confirmed from the pit lane. JPM, Juan Montoya in the 81.
Yeah, and I think the high-class racing car came in on that right after the green, and next lap around that came in for wets. I think Fabio Scherer driving that car.
Well, he had to do. Don't forget, he had to do a drive through.
Penalty, didn't he? That's a good point.
For hitting the number
good point.
11
good
car
point.
and
But
causing this.
Ryan Dalziel has just come into the pits, and that will be for wet weather tyres.
So a big shake-up then in the lineup throughout the field. As we said in our Porsche keys to the race, weather and tyres would be key here, and so it has proved to be. Richard Westbrook leads by 17 seconds from the leading LMP2 car. Louis Delatraz for Tower Motorsport, the number 8, second overall and leads his class. Is a 2-second gap to Juan Montoya for Dragon Speed, the 81 car in third. These are all LMP2s, by the way. Josh Pearson, the young driver for PR1 Matheson Motorsport, he is in 4th place. Then it's Bourdais in 5th and second in DPI ahead of Ricky Taylor. Restarted in the lead, but has dropped back now to 42 seconds behind Richard Westbrook. Then Alex Lynn. Then another 8 seconds further back, Pipo Derani after that spin, but he's coming back. He's quicker than the other slick-tired car, but nowhere near Richard Westbrook. We're looking at 2:26 for Pipo, who's the quickest of the slick-tired car. 2:12 for Richard Westbrook. And what is Ollie Jarvis doing as he gets up to speed? That's a car that we need to watch as well, the number 60. In LMP3, Felipe Fraga leads for Riley Motorsport in the number 74, the orange and blue car from the 36, black and white car of Gabby Chavez and Andretti Autosport. Then the Stars and Stripes number 33, Sean Creech Motorsport, Joao Barbosa. In GTD Pro, it's Barney Coat for Vassar Sullivan in the black and yellow Lexus number 14 from the plaid Porsche of Pfaff Motorsport, and Mathieu Jaminet, the number 9. Umbrellas going back up on the start-finish line here as well, by the way. Ross Gunn of Heart of Racing team in third for the 23, Aston Martin. In GTD, Team Court of Mike Skeen. 32 Mercedes leads from Jan Helen in the blue and black Wright Motorsports Porsche number 16, and making his first visit to the National Park of Speed here, Daniel Juncadella for WeatherTech Racing 79 in third place.
Championship leader in LMP3 is in the pits for Colin Brown. I presume a change of tyres there for him also.
It must be crossover now when you see a 2:12 for the leader of the race, and Pipo Derani a couple of seconds quicker than anybody else on slicks, but he's 14 seconds slower. He did a 24 last time around, and there's a lot of spray coming off the back of the cars now on the faster parts of the course. This is wet weather track now, full wet. It'll be pit, 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 box, box, box for wet tyres.
Yeah.
Now, the question for me, Jeremy, is though, those changes, we still need to have a word with somebody down at MyShank Racing, ideally Tom Blomqvist, and we're just waiting to get a chat with them at the moment about what those changes were, whether they gambled on their settings and whether they've gone back to a full dry setup or not. Into the pit lane for the second place DPI, Sebastian Bourdais into the pits for Cadillac Chip Ganassi. And in fact, also coming in as well is Ricky Taylor. So Bourdais and Taylor in the pit lane. No, it's not. Yes.
Yeah, Bourdais, Taylor, Lynn and Durrani as well.
Yeah, all coming in.
Yeah.
Shea Adam is down there.
First car to hit its marks will be Sebastian Bourdais. This is a full service stop, fuel, tires, and a driver change. Renger van de Zande taking over for that car. The sister car will also be getting a full service stop as it hits its marks, but the next car into its box is Ricky Taylor. I've just heard push it forward from one of the teams. I'm not sure which one it was, though. Just interfering with my radio. Full wet weather tires for Ricky Taylor now, and wet weather tires for Renger van de Zande. Renger drops off the air jacks and is sent clear and away well before everyone else. Waiting next on the Koenig Minolta Acura, this car off the air jacks, waiting on the fuel. There goes Ricky, and the next car out should be Earl Bamber in the 02 with Pippo Durrani also coming in. Fuel and tires for the Whalen Engineering Cadillac. No, it's Alex Lynn stayed aboard with the 02 for Cadillac Chip Ganassi Racing.
Yeah, so Van der Zande in the 01, Ricky Taylor staying in the 10, Alex Lynn staying in and Pippo staying in. Richard Westbrook cruising at the front of the field at the moment.
Relatively. I mean, he's pushing hard to make to take full advantage of this opportunity.
What's interesting to me is he's doing 2:13s, and so are some of the Ryan DL did a 2:13 last time around. Juan Montoya did a 2:13 last time around. They're in LMP2 cars. Ollie Jarvis, who we know is on wet weather tyres, did a 2:19.9. So did they go the wrong way on setup? Shea Adam will find out with the man who started the race and had such problems with that number 60. Tom Blomqvist can explain. Shea?
Tom, it seems like the hardest thing in the world to drive a race car when it's on a wet weather setup and dry tires out there. What did they do to make the car better for Ollie?
To be honest, I'm not sure because I haven't actually checked in what exactly they changed, but yeah, no, we've had a tough weekend, really. We've had moments where the car's been good, and we just haven't really hit the sweet spot. And yeah, that first stint was pretty bad. Just lacked a lot of grip, and yeah, it wasn't easy to keep the car on the track. So yeah, obviously we took a punt, made some changes at the stop. Also, we were at the back, so we were able to get onto the wet tire a little bit earlier than the others, which has now pushed us back up. But yeah, still a long way to go, and yeah, who knows what's happening at the moment. It's not really raining enough to be properly, if it stops, it's going to obviously dry out quite quickly, but hey, it's the same for everyone now, so we just have to manage it the best we can.
Were you guys expecting the rain to come and to have to start on a full wet setup?
Yeah, I mean, we weren't exactly happy with our dry setup. The quality yesterday we were a bit off. So obviously we made some changes there to try and do something today in the race, but yeah, that first thing was pretty woeful. So yeah, anyway, the race is still long. We've got ourselves back into a fighting position, so hopefully now Ollie can really truck down in these conditions. It's obviously, we're Brits, and yeah, we're used to driving in this sort of stuff, so let's see.
Good luck.
Cheers, thank you.
It's the championship leader that we're talking about there, 5 second places consecutively. Meantime, there's been a change at the top of GTD Pro, courtesy of a little mistake down at turn number 5 for for Ben Barnicat, who took over from Jack Hawksworth, and Matthew Jaminet didn't need any second invitation as he went up Fireman's Hill to turn 6. Thanks very much indeed. I'll take over the lead. That battle, 2 different drivers now, but exactly as hot and feisty as it was with their co-drivers at the start of the race. But now Porsche leads GTD Pro here with still an hour and 37 minutes to go.
And LMP3 is now led by Philippe Fraga heading into turn 1, I think, right now. Right ahead of him on the road, I'm pretty sure it was Colin Brown, having made an extra pit stop just ahead of Fraga on the road, so not quite a lap down. Just look at the lap times last time around. It was a 2:19 for Colin Brown, number 54 car, and it was a 2:18 for Fraga. So he caught him a little bit on that lap. So Colin Brown desperately trying to stay on the lead lap. The fastest car on the track at the moment last time around was actually Ryan DL, 2 minutes 12.4 in LMP2 car, 2 minutes 12.6 for both Louis Delatraz, also in a P2 car, and our race leader, Richard Westbrook.
Colin Brown in the 52, Jeremy, is just going round turn 8 now, and the number 74, the Riley car, leading the class with Philippe Albacre. Well, let me do that again. Leader is now coming down into turn 8 about now, and exiting the carousel is Colin Brown. So he's got about the length of the carousel between himself and getting lapped, but he's lapping a little bit quicker than the leader.
And I'll talk about the leaders doing 2:12s. Renger van der Zande on his first lap out there on wet weather tyres, 2:09.6.
It's more like it.
So 3 seconds quicker. Richard Westbrook just comes across the line, had a little bit of traffic, 2:14.1.
2:13.8 for Ollie Jarvis as he starts to get up to speed with the wet weather tyres on that Acura. It seems that neither of the Acuras are particularly happy in the wet weather. Ricky Taylor on an outlet. Let's see how he does.
Yeah.
He was, in fairness, he was struggling, as many were, because he was still on the slick tyres. A couple of AMGs battling together down under the new Speedville Bridge. In the number 79, that's Daniel Juncadella, and right ahead of him is the class leader, Mike Skeen. So that's first and second. Team Courtnought Mercedes, the number 32, coming down to the kink now. Let's have a listen. That was actually a lift and a brake through the kink. That tells you how tricky it is through there at the moment, even for the GT, or particularly for the GT cars, as Ollie Jarvis goes past that battle in the pink Sirius XM Acura. Oh, side by side down there, the number 60 finding some grip on the outside. Ollie Jarvis knows that this is his opportunity. He will have his wet weather tyres up to temperature. Richard Westbrook still some 1 minute and 30 seconds, 1 minute and 40 seconds ahead of the next DPI car. That's the lead. Ollie Jarvis is actually in second in DPI, although 6th position, because he's got 4 LMP2 cars between himself and Richard Westbrook, who leads the motor race. It's a topsy-turvy world, as we are still an hour and 34 minutes to go in this race, and it will surprise you not at all if I say it's clearing up a little bit. The sky is lightening from whence the direction from whence the rain arrived is now clearing, but the wind has changed and moved around a little bit. It's coming more from the west and the south than from the north, as it was at ground level, at least. That doesn't necessarily mean that that is the same in the atmosphere where the weather is being blown around. Now this battle for GTD lead down at turn 5. Round the outside, Daniel Juncadella. I was amazed to find out that he'd never been here before. He turned down the opportunity to race in Europe to come here. He wanted to be here. He goes down the inside and takes the lead at turn 6. Mike Skeen not really fighting that one. Smart moves by Mike. Maybe not the time to be battling now with still more than 90 minutes to go, but that's a new leader, Jeremy Shaw, in GTD. Juncadella for WeatherTech Racing. Over 600 WeatherTech guests here this weekend. Their corporate headquarters just down the road, and they are very much of this area.
Yeah, home track also for Cooper McNeil, of course, for the same reason. And Danny Juncadella, a great character, loves this racetrack. Yeah, another opportunity, as you just said, to race the ADAC Masters Championship in Germany this weekend. This opportunity came up, jumped at it, heard a lot about Road America, couldn't wait to get here. Saw him yesterday briefly, well, nice to chat with him yesterday, and absolutely loves the place. And it shows right now. That's a really impressive drive for Danny Juncadella.
So Juncadella now actually gaining under brakes on the Corvette ahead of him. Remember, the GT3 cars have ABS, so both of these cars. This is absolutely extraordinary. Cooper McNeil down in the pit lane. We'll talk to him at the moment as Juncadella, on pace, drives by Jordan Taylor in the Corvette. Same balance of performance throughout the whole GT category. It's all about the drive. The Corvette comes back under the brakes to turn 1. And the WeatherTech car taking the lead down into turn 5. On this lap, Shea Adam, a perfect time to speak to Daniel Juncadella's teammate, Cooper McNeil.
Cooper, it's nice to come over and chat with you when your car's in the lead of GTD, and Daniel Juncadella going for the overall lead for GTD, seemingly. He seems to be fitting in very nicely to this program. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I think at this rate he might get the overall win of the race. Yeah, not bad for his first rain lap ever at Road America from 10th or 11th to 4th. So yeah, leading now. I mean, Danny's one of the best there is from AMG. So big thank you to them for sending him over for this weekend. Actually had another commitment this weekend, but chose to come here because he loves IMSA, he loves American racing, and heard such good things about Road America. He'd never been here before. So yeah, from 11th to now leading in the matter of 10 minutes or so. It was pretty exciting. He's flying out there. Obviously, there's still a long way to go, hour and a half to go, but you know, hopefully we have some more rain coming because he seems to like that.
Well, I was just going to ask, because we've seen the 20 high-class racing LMP2 car off the circuit again. It's very tricky conditions out there, but it keeps drying up. You guys want a lot more rain to keep that Mercedes out front, right?
Yeah, more rain would definitely help him. I mean, he seems to love it. This morning I was like, do you like the rain or not, Danny? And he's like, absolutely, let's go, bring it on. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. He's catching one of the Aston Martin Pro cars right now, so this ought to be pretty interesting. But yeah, Danny's flying in the WeatherTech Mercedes right now.
I'll let you get back to it with popcorn. It's a big weekend for WeatherTech. Lots of fans, lots of people cheering you on. Good luck, Cooper.
Thank you, Shay.
Cooper McNeil yet to do. Did Cooper start that car, Jeremy? Did Cooper McNeil start that car until his 30 minutes? Yes, he did. Yes, of course, because he had to, because of his driver rating. Yeah, absolutely. So he now can settle back and watch Daniel Juncadella, AMG factory driver, work his magic. Juncadella now catching the third place GTD Pro car of Ross Gunn. Quite extraordinarily. But as we said, the potential performance of these cars, identical. Warning for the number 74 Ligier, which leads LMP3 and Philippe Albacre for blocking. But at the moment, just a warning. That'll be race control, seeing him moving around in response to cars coming up to him. He hasn't had that much behind him for a little while.
He's been way out on his own, ahead of car number 36. I mean, it's 14 seconds clear. Last I looked. It's odd.
Maybe he was blocking some of the faster cars.
Maybe he was.
Through.
Yes, good point.
Yeah. But it doesn't say not adhering to blue flags. Problem is, the class has mixed up so much, Jeremy, that you've got LMP2 cars. You know, you've got Tristan Nunez behind him at the moment in the number 11 car recovering. It really, you know, there's all kinds of weirdness going on with respect of pace, including the WeatherTech Mercedes in GTD up into third in GT now, having just literally waltzed past the Aston Martin of Ross Gunn. Now, Ross Gunn is a very, very impressive driver and very highly thought of at Aston Martin. Is the full course yellow is out. Full course yellow is out. And Shea Adam may be able to update us on why that has come out at this point with an hour and 27 to go, Shea.
I don't know, John. There's debris on the track, maybe going into Canada
yes,
corner.
Absolutely.
But, yep.
Just seen that. Turn 12, Canada corner. There's one of the cheese wedges out there. The yellow and red flag, which could mean slippery surface, but actually the proper full use of that flag is something on the track that shouldn't be there. It might be fluid, but it could be bodywork. And in this case, it is bodywork. Could be dust, dirt or gravel as well, of course. But rubbish on the track of some description. And full course yellow will bring that out. Now, what is that going to do for Richard Westbrook? Well, the answer is for all the LMP2 cars that are between Richard Westbrook and now Renger van der Zande, who's managed to get by Ollie Jarvis and move away. So even with those wet weather tyres on, the Acura's still not showing the pace. And while we've been keeping an eye on the GT battles, Renger van der Zande for Cadillac number 0, Warder Chip Ganassi, has fought his way up to and past Ollie Jorvis and Fabio Scherer, and up into 5th position, which will become 2nd, of course, when we reset the field after this. So, Jeremy, an hour and 26 minutes to go, so 86 minutes to go. Are we going to see more pit stops? I suppose you take a pit stop now. You've got to, haven't you?
Yeah, no, I think so. Absolutely right. We were. This thing was 10 laps long, so more than halfway through a stint, certainly. Did that fall off? Was it Jerry Kraut? Was that
it fell off
Andrews' car? Number 90 car.
Fell off the number 90 car. Yeah, absolutely. Scott Andrews for JDC Miller Motorsport, the cheese wedge on the right rear, which holds the light pod as well. Just popped off completely, so we can see the whole of the rear right. Now, if this was WEC competition, they'd have to replace that. You're not allowed to drive with that legality panel missing.
Doing a super job, by the way.
Yes.
Scott Andrews taking over from a really good first stint from Jerry Kraut, up into 3rd position in the class, just a one-off appearance for that organisation, JDC Miller Motorsports, and he's quite a long way ahead of Cameron Shields, number 38 Performance Tech Motorsports car, then Joao Barbosa, then Matt Bell, then Garrett Griss, and Dakota Dickerson, who are all pretty close together in that little group for. They're all of them are quite a long way behind the first two, with Felipe Fraga having pulled out a large gap over Gavi Chavez in 2nd position for Andretti Autosport. Tell you what, this caution period is exactly what the DPI field needed, except of course for Richard Westbrook, who was way out in front, well over, better part of 2 minutes, better part of a lap ahead of everybody else in actual fact.
A couple of questions coming in that are moot now, but interesting conversation points. Right turn lover, first of all, right in the centre of Europe, said if the lead DPI went a lap down to the leader, what would happen if the safety car out, which would be the lead class on the restart? I actually still think the DPIs would go to the front. But I don't know on that one. That is a little bit of a grey area for me, so I'm going to have to look that one up before that actually happens in a race. But I remember back when Nick Tandy and Patrick Pilet won overall at Petit Le Mans in the GT Porsche, the prototypes were kept put back in front of him, even though they'd driven past them, and they had to start behind them and drive past them again. So I think they would go to the front of the field. And Nigel Dobby says, if Richard Westbrook lapped the entire DPI class lead, would the other cars get a wave by if there was a full cars caution? No, they wouldn't.
No.
If he got a full lap on them, then he would keep that lap. If he was right behind them when it came out, and therefore the DPI cars were behind the safety car but not behind the leader, then they would get a wave by. Yes?
If what?
So if the 5 cars behind the safety car were the 5 DPIs and Westy was right up behind them,
the safety car would pick up the race lead.
Up the race lead.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
so they would get to come back around effectively.
And if he was a lap ahead of the field, no, they would not be waved around. However, if the number 5 car came into the pits, when the pits were opened, the other guys would probably stay out
and get that lap back.
Get their lap back, and then make the pit stop before they went back to green.
And we have the top prototypes coming into the pits now, including Richard Westbrook. Share, Adam.
First car to hit its marks is the number 5 Mustang sampling Cadillac. That is a driver change. Richard Westbrook is out of that car. Tristan Gauthier is getting in. They are putting slick tires on that car. Important information for people up and down the pit lane. They are new. They're shiny. We've got semi-scrubbed rubber going on the 02 Cadillac for Chip Ganassi Racing, and also Earl Bamber going to be installed behind the wheel of that car as well. As far as the LMP2 cars are concerned, well, we've had Tower Motorsport come in. Another set of, let's wait for it to find out fully. I'm waiting for Louis Delatraz to get here. Those look like wet weather tires to me, but they could be dry actually now that I look at it. We've also got the 60 of Meyershank Racing that has come into the pit lane. That is fuel and new dry tires. Those are scrubbed in rubber. Ranger Van de Sandus, set of slicks. A lot of trouble trying to find some purchase leaving the pit box. And we've also got Ricky Taylor in. Ooh, Philippe Albacre getting back behind the wheel, the number 10 Konica Minolta Acura. This will be scrubbed tires for them as well, but these are slicks.
Brand new slicks for the 01 Chip Ganassi car. Slicks of some description going on the 6-0. Couldn't tell you whether they were new or scrubbed. Brand new rubber going on, slick rubber going on the 3-1. As they all burn out going out. One way actually to tell whether the tyres on the car, if we have to go back for the DPIs at least, are slicks or wets. The wet weather rims that they have tend to have an aerodynamic edge to them that comes further down to try and keep a bit more heat in the tyre. So not the complete spoked wheel. Actually looks pretty cool. Almost like a wheel disc on the outside of the wheel rim. But an interesting set of choices being made from some of the DPIs there as to whether they went on brand new or scrubbed rubber. So we'll cycle through the pit stops again here. Question earlier on about how come a small off that was recovered within a lap took so long. Well, we explained that earlier on, but it's worthwhile saying again, you have 5 different classes on the track, and the moment you put out a safety car, you pick up the leader of the race. And at that point, there is a very strong possibility, almost a certainty, in fact, that you will mess up one of the other classes, because there will be cars that are between the leader of the race overall and their own leader, therefore almost a lap down behind the safety car. So one of the things you've got to do is reorder, get everybody round, and make sure that those races are not impacted negatively by the requirement to neutralise the race. So that's why we have laps of pass around and wave bys for the classes that isn't the top class, that aren't the top class. Then obviously we split because of the pit lane. We split the pit entries for the DPIs and the GT cars to try and make things a little safer on pit lane and not have 37 cars all trying to come in at the same time. And then we do the DPI split to get the faster cars back at the front of the field, again all for safety reasons. Then we can go back to green again. It's a well practiced procedure that has gone on for quite some time. Yes, it's going to take about 15 to 18 minutes every time, but that is the only way to do it without rearing racers further down the field. Shea Adam, GT runners now, they went on to the wet weather tyres fairly early on. What are the choices this time around?
It's slicks galore down here in the pit lane and stickers nonetheless, so it's going to be sketchy conditions for both of the Aston Martins, the 27 and the 23 coming in for sticker Michelin tires. For both of the Lexuses, the exact same prescription, the 12 getting stickers first, and now the 14 coming in and hitting its marks, getting rid of those wet weather tires and putting on brand new Michelins. For FAF, they have done full service for this car as far as fuel and tires is concerned, but these tires look like they might have had one cycle through them, and then maybe that beautiful rubber scrubbing heat gun to pull things back off. First car back out of the pit lane, the number 79 WeatherTech Racing Mercedes. We've got Turner BMW right behind. Great stop by Turner to jump a bunch of spots. And the most important thing that happened in this pit stop by my account, Antonio Garcia is back behind the wheel of the number 3 Corvette. It was a lengthy stop for Corvette, but they did full service and sticker Michelin slicks for Garcia. Woo, that'll be exciting.
Porsche Keys to the race talked about strategy for drive time. And that's all been ticked off now. Pit stops and tyre strategy has been affected by the yellow flags and by the weather. And so far, precious few, thank goodness, penalties for us to worry about. High Class got one, didn't they, the number 20 car, and that has impacted their race, only to the fact that they fought their way back to 4th position for Fabio Scherer, who served that penalty when Dennis Anderson nudged the back of Stephen Thomas in the number 11 prototype. And still, Jeremy, an hour and a quarter to go.
Yeah, great. What's interesting now is the timing. Just talk about the timing of this caution period and when the safety car came out relative to everybody on the racetrack. The number 79 car, which is leading in GTD non-pro, had just been lapped by the overall race leader. The top 2 cars in GTD Pro, number 9 and number 14, had not been lapped by the race leader. Number 23 and number 23 and number 3 had been lapped by the race leader, but because they had not been lapped by their class leader, i.e. the 9 and the 14, they were able to get the wave around and go back onto the same lap as everybody else. So we now have the 4 GTD Pro cars a lap ahead of the GTD. And the reason again for that is that number 79 car, which is leading its class, had been lapped by the race leader. Now, we had this earlier in the season at Sebring, and I couldn't figure out what had happened because
it's
normally
class,
GTD is treated all together, but it hasn't been here because all the other GTD cars did not get the wave around. Okay. Only the GTD Pro cars.
That's presuming that they've actually done it right.
Well,
let's see if because they'll get some quite punitive penalties if that isn't the case.
Yeah, no, they will have done. The question is, why didn't the other guys get the wave around? Is more the question. The 23 and 20 absolutely were correct to get the wave around. And number 25 car, by the way, the 5th car in GTD Pro is several laps behind, so unfortunately not in reckoning at all after those early problems. But the question is why the other regular GTD cars didn't get the wave around along with the 23 and the 3. Because I thought they were supposed to be all treated
a single class for wave by. Yeah. Answers on a postcard, please. We may discuss that in a very short post-race tech, Michelin post-race tech, because Jeremy's got to rub himself down with warm halibut oil after this and get himself ready for the Lamborghini Super Trofeo, which will be our closing race of the weekend. He'll be joined by Brian Till for that. We'll have that live and free for you via the international feed and across the states here on IMSARadio.com. Click the live video button. You can do that right now if you're outside the US and see that there's an hour and 42 seconds. Now with 13 minutes and 42 seconds.
Durrani just came back
lane for Pipo Durrani. Shea Adam is watching the 31 red and white Whelen car.
This was just a splash of fuel, and oh wow, that was a close moment there as Colin Brown stopped behind Pipo Durrani, and right behind him, Ryan Vial was not expecting to stop, moved into the transition lane to avoid causing a massive pileup. Heads up driving there by the Scotsman, but no collision for those 3 cars of 3 different classes because Pipo did notice the red light was on.
Yeah, always easy to get excited about getting out and not notice the red light at the end of pit lane. And we've seen a couple of nasty accidents happen where the lead car in the train of cars sees it and the cars behind don't, or sometimes in fact the lead car doesn't, runs the red light, but the second place car does, and then everybody runs into the back because they're watching the lead car disappearing out of the pit lane. Prototype class split is ongoing, so the DPIs go to the front of the field. So here's how they'll line up then. It will be Tristan Vautier for JDC Miller Motorsports, having taken that car over from Richard Westbrook. So the number 5, dark grey and gold Mustang sampling sponsored car from the Cadillac Racing number 01 of Renger van der Zande. Then Meyershank Racing, Ollie Jarvis in 3rd position with a change of setup on that car, which the conditions may be coming back to that car now. This is going to be very interesting to see what Ollie can do on slick racing tyres for the next hour and 12 minutes. That's the pink XM Sirius machine, Auto Nation car. 4th is Philippe Albacre in the black and blue Konica Minolta Acura number 10. Earl Bamber in the dark red and black, Cadillac Racing in 5th. Then it's the LMP2s, Tower Motorsport number 8, PR1 Matheson Motorsport number 52, Dragon Speed USA number 81, that's Juan Montoya, watch him off the start, we know what he's like. Fabio Scherer in the red and white bodied car, but with now a black nose on the number 20 high-class racing car, is next in line. Although People Durrani should get back through there, and we'll see where he lines up. Just a few moments ago, People Durrani was sideswiped as he was coming back through down towards from turn 7 down towards turn 8, and that's done some damage.
Well, it's picked up a signboard.
Yes, and I think it's done some damage as well. He might have been a little bit lucky. The problem is he's in line now, and he doesn't want to brake. He is on the back of the LMP or the DPI field. If he could just wipe it off on the back of the Cadillac in front of him.
That'll go down well.
Yeah, I'm sure it would. That's going to give him a bit extra downforce, but he's locked up his front. Actually, it's taken downforce away from the right front.
Yeah, but
not sure how he's going to get rid of that. He's going to peel off into the pit lane to get rid of it, is what he's going to do. So that'll just be a very quick pit stop, but that's going to lose him all that positions. He was coming down the outside on the DPI class split, and somebody pulled out of line and side-swiped him, put him on the grass, driver's right, and he's picked up one of the WeatherTech signs on the way down the hill to turn number 8. We're back racing again, and the cars stream past us in the Haggerty Global Broadcast Centre. That quick rundown for you, our VP Racing Fuel in-race update. The high-class car off at the final corner a moment or two ago, so that dropped down as well. I think I might have put another splash of fuel in that, considering that it was in there. 0 damage to the front of the car, says Shea Adam for People Durrani. Just a wee bit of grass in the front end of that car, which presumably will get blown out as he moves away. So we've reset and we're off again. Tristan Vautier, Renger van der Zande, Ollie Jarvis, Philippe Albacre, Earl Bamber. It's not a bad quintet, is it, for the top 5? And People Durrani turned up to 11, trying to fight his way back to this lot.
Yeah, he's got a lot of work to do now, because he's going to be a long, long way back. But huge change around in GTD during that round of pit stops. The big loser out of it was number 51 car. Ryan Eversley's got that car up into 3rd position, behind number 79 of Daniel Juncadela and number 32 of Mike Skeen. But now he's way, way back down the order in 8th position. The big gainer was number 96 car, Bill Oberlin, jumped from 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9th position to 2nd for Turner Motorsport.
And the battle for the lead has turned up to 11 as well, Jeremy, as big defence going on by Tristan Vautier. Canada corner, then through Bill Mitchell-Benn and into the final corner. He's held the Cadillac of Renger van der Zande at bay for the moment. Ollie Jarvis is there, and then the battle for 4th and 5th. Albuquerque has Earl Bamber alongside him, has him running into the back of him. They both go down the inside of Ollie Jarvis there. How did that not end in tears? Extraordinary stuff. I'm not sure Philippe Albacre really wanted to overtake the other Acura, but Earl Bamber was pushing him along, I'm fairly certain, down the right-hand side, the inside of the track. Ollie Jarvis deciding, I think rather wisely, just to stay out of the way there, whilst that was all going on his right-hand side. So a new 4th place car as Albuquerque, a new 3rd place car as Albuquerque has gone past the Mershank Acura. There was a lot of bumping and barging at the front of the field there as Renger van der Zande tried to get through. Quite extraordinary stuff. And grandstand seat from the Acura of Ollie Jarvis, watching the Cadillac 01 go side by side. And Earl Bamber dealing with a huge moment going into turn 1 there.
Just a dismal day for Mershank Racing, isn't it? That
really have no pace.
Looking none whatsoever. I mean, just
I mean, I think Ollie did well to stay out the way of what potentially could have been a big accident there, but they've got no pace down the straights whatsoever. We saw this at Watkins Glen, didn't we, Jeremy, with the Cadillacs being able to outdrag them, but that was another Acura. That was another Acura.
Well, which is actually what happened at Watkins Glen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, good point.
They trimmed the other Acura out, yeah.
Good point.
And it was Philippe Albacre as well, in that car at the time. Now, they did change the rear wing at the first yellow flag on full course yellow on that pink and white Auto Nation car, presumably for one with less downforce on. But it is not working for them at all at the moment. Big suspension setup changes in that first full course caution. Just over an hour and 6 minutes to go around the circuit on 87.9 FM here at Road America. Around the US on Sirius XM 207 and around the world on IMSA Radio, RS2 via imsaradio.com. We've got live video as well for the internationals if you want to hit the live video tab. Damage to the back of the number 12. This is the Lexus in the GTD category, who went very long and tried to get down the inside of the AMG into Canada corner. This is the number 57 AMG that he went by and then couldn't get it stopped and just wiped across the front of Philippe Ellis in the Winward racing car, the blue and black machine. And it's just taken a little bit of bodywork off the back of that car. That's two little dunches that car's had in the race, because I think the right rear lost some bodywork as well earlier on. Very early on, like first lap early on.
Yeah, he said he couldn't blame the Mercedes for that one. That was just the number 12 car just carrying too much speed into the corner.
Ambitious.
Optimistic.
The responsible adult calls those low percentage lunges. At the front of the field then, Tristan Vautier settling down to a decent pace for JDC Miller Motorsport. 1:53.3 last time around, 3:47 last time around as we got back up to speed. And that's their best lap of the race last time around, as rejoining from the pit lane, the Sean Creech Motorsport number 33 car. And that's not a comfortable lead, but it's a lead. It's a lead that he doesn't feel he needs to defend, Vautier, at the moment. So he can concentrate on going forward.
Yeah, that'd been the operative word at the moment. Still an hour and 4 minutes remaining, so there will be one more pit stop during this race.
So Vautier from Van der Zande, from Albuquerque, from Jarvis, from Bamba, your top five. People Durrani having to fight his way through the LMP2 field now, having had to come into the pit lane for an extra time. They've now got, 5 pit stops against their name, because they had to remove that piece of the WeatherTech boarding that he picked up when he was doing the DPI class split. Now, is Ollie Jarvis now getting some heat into those slick tyres and finding a bit of pace? That's the question. It does seem to be turning up the wick a little bit, but it's not been a good day. 1:52.9 for Jarvis, 52.8 for Earl Bamber behind him, 52.7 for Philippe Albacre ahead of him. So about there, 52.4 for Renger van der Zande in second and 52.5 for Tristan Vautier. So the two Cadillacs at the front of the field with a tiny little bit of an advantage. That could just be the fact they had slightly clearer track last time around, although in fairness, they haven't really caught the traffic yet, Jeremy. So that's an interesting stretching of that 5-car group at the front of the field. Pete Durrani, 59.3, mired as he is in the LMP2 traffic. He's got a lot of hard work to do in the next hour and 2 minutes.
Yeah, he has. But he's certainly going to be up for it, because it's been a long drought for that number 5 team. They've had a really difficult season, but great strategy call early on. And Tristan Vautier is going to be hanging on the best he can. And he turns again his best lap of the race that time around, 51.9 for him, which is only a couple of tenths away from the fastest lap of the race that was set very early on by Earl Bamber. So good lap there by Tristan Vautier. Just looking at the GTD Pro field, after the restart, Ben Barnicoat got ahead of Matthew Jaminet and is holding on to that lead. They are coming up into Canada corner. So another change of position there in GTD Pro.
Between the same two cars.
Between the same two cars.
Yeah, they've had a race-long battle, even when the drivers changed over. The Corvette was in there for a little while, but in third now, it's Ross Gunn for the Aston Martin Racing Heart of Racing team. Antonio Garcia with the job to bring the number 3 Corvette home. Slightly slow pit stop put them at the back of the 4 GTD Pro cars that remain. More bad luck for BMW with their number 25 car behind the wall. Shea Adam to talk to the man of the first half of the race. Great driving and great strategy gave Richard Westbrook a fabulous advantage. He's with Shea Adam.
Rich Westbrook, 3 times a winner here at Road America. You know how to get it done, but how great was the call by the crew to put you on wets when everybody else was on slicks?
I had no idea what you asked me, but actually I've got a feeling about the call to go to wets. So yeah, I mean, it was on the limit with slicks, and the problem is it was still slicks, but you got to get, that's if you've got temperature in them. So I knew that obviously you weren't going to get build-up temperature behind the safety car, so I just said if there's anything on the radar, it's got to be wets. And you know, the crew called it last minute. They checked the radar, and there was a little blob coming in, and that was enough. And still at that point, it probably was slicks, but they've got no tyre temp, and that was our gain. So it was just a question of looking after the wets while it was still too dry for the wets, not burning them off. And yeah, it was looking really good, but obviously safety car, it's always going to happen, and it's going to be nerve-wracking last hour.
Were you guys on a wet setup to begin the race or a dry setup?
Honestly, there's not much difference these days between a wet and a dry setup. You got the tools in the car with the bars, so no, same setup as qualifying. We made some improvements from qualifying, but it was just trying to get a good car to improve, you know, what we had in qualifying, which is obviously a real disappointment to have that bigger gap to the Ganassi cars. But we were super happy with P4, but just not the gap.
It's a lot better to be P1. Good luck the rest of the way.
Yeah, we've just got to keep it there. But Tristan's doing awesome. Cheers. Thank you.
One more pit stop for that car, for all of the cars at the front of the field. And still this battle in GTD Pro heading towards us in the Hagerty Global Broadcast Centre as they come up the hill now and head across the line. And just 0.3, call it 0.4 of a second. Jaminet headlights ablaze, where the Lexus is just running on the running lights. The Porsche trying to gain under light braking for turn 1. That's really all it is. Now down to turn 3. Still a little bit damp offline. And behind them is the battle for the lead, actually, coming through. Oh, and a bit of a jink across the nose of the second place Cadillac there by the leader in GTD. Whether he's trying to defend his own position or get out the way, I'm not entirely certain what Ben was doing there, but that was a sketchy moment as the leaders come through.
A little bit, but it was a very decisive move, and he was well clear. It wasn't as if the leaders had to jump on the anchors, so he made it very clear you go to the outside. Yeah. And by doing the same, it made no way through there for the number 9 car, the pursuing Porsche either. So a heads-up driving, I think, there from Ben Barnicott. He telegraphed that really well to the leaders, and it did look a little bit sketchy, but I think it's always sketchy out there, isn't it? And that was a good move by Ben. So that order remains the same, with the Lexus just ahead of that Porsche, and the Aston Martin is about 3 seconds back in third position, losing just a little bit of ground, but still pulling away a little bit is Ross Gunn from Antonio Garcia in 4th place.
Just noticed coming out the pits in 11th in GTD, Marco Holzer behind the wheel of the NTE Lamborghini number 42. 57 minutes, a big ask for the GT3 Lamborghini, but it must be close to being able to go from there. That could be their last scheduled pit stop. Fuel saving, not in Marco Holz's vocabulary, to be honest. So he may just get his foot down and hope for a little bit of yellow to get them to the end. But want to keep an eye on that number 42 car and see what the situation is. I think that they are still on the lead lap in GTD. Yes, they are. in that car. So the battle at the front of the field beginning to hot up just a little bit, with Fortier and Van der Zande, Philippe Albacre trying to close down on them, but had traffic last time around in the Konica Minolta Acura.
He did, so lost a little bit of ground. But Oliver Jarvis now staying right with him, and actually he's edged away over the last couple of laps from Earl Bamber. So maybe now they've got a bit of time to in that number 60 car, and it certainly seems more competitive than it has been the race so far.
Yeah, and don't forget those changes that they made, Jeremy, at that first yellow flag period. They made some quite significant changes to the suspension and the different spec rear wing. That must have been to try and get the balance of the car back. It looks like Ollie might be reaping the rewards of that right now with 56 minutes to go. He's in the carousel. Target firmly acquired to the other Acura, the Konica Minolta version of the car, as they're heading down to the kink this time around. But he's going to catch traffic in exactly the wrong place. It's the WeatherTech Racing number 79. That's the leader in GTD. Daniel Juncadella on his first outing here at Road America. 3 seconds to the good from in second place in GTD. Now Turner Motorsport and Bill Orbel and Tim Kortoff and Mike Skeen, who were leading this race earlier on. Number 32 car in third. GTD Pro, it's Barnicott for Vassar Sullivan Lexus. Jaminet in second for Pfaff Motorsport. And then third is Ross Gunn. LMP 3, Riley Motorsport number 74 from Gabby Chavez and Andretti Autosport in second place in the 36 black and white car. And Malte Jakobsen, pole sitter in the Stars and Stripes number 33. And in LMP2, it's Tower Motorsport by just 0.8 of a second now from Juan Montoya for Dragon Speed and Ryan DL for Era, the blue number 18 car. That's your top three. At the front of the field, just half a second between Fortier and Van der Zande. That's your VP Racing Fuel in race rundown. Shea Adam, you have Pfaff. Now, can they go to the end from here? That's what I'm thinking. They're trying to get on the right side of any yellows that come here, Shea Adam.
Yep, I think they can go to the end from here. Steve Bortolotti, the team manager, certainly would be sitting up there with the calculator pushing every button he possibly can. And Matthew Jaminet going to stay aboard this car. Remember, he's never raced at Road America prior to the green flag here today. They are doing new sticker tires for this Porsche. They might have had one cycle through them. Left sides only and a splash of fuel. Wow, what a call. I hope he can make it to the end.
And the yellow flag is just about to come out because the Malte Jakobsen number 20 high-class racing car has come into contact with the Andretti car, the black, white and green machine. Now, how did that happen? Oh, the Andretti car was off first at the exit of turn 14 and then speared back across the track into the path of Malte Jakobsen. Jakobsen this time absolutely faultless on that one.
Yeah, second and third in the class, those two.
Yes, absolutely. And there's damage to both of those cars. And pit callers coming in, trying to get in before the yellows came out. That would have been very, very tight because that was down at the bottom of the hill. They may have seen that and dived straight for the pit lane. Shea Adam.
There's a pit commit line, John, where you have to have your nose up to or right sides across the tar line that denotes the entrance to the pit lane. It's where the pit gets a little bit wider at the bottom of the hill. If the cars were already there, then they were clear to enter. The cars that made it in were the 13 AWA LMP3 car for Matt Bell. That's the sound of Connor DeFilippi and the 25 BMW that's already had some issues so far today. And the last of the LMP3 cars to actually get into the pits, I think that's the MLT Motorsports, the number 54 possibly, that got in, as well as Scott Andrews. Maybe Scott Andrews' luck is finally turning around because the 90 JDC Miller Motorsport LMP3 car, that was in too.
Very interesting indeed. Hello to Suzanne Robinson, who's in a stare down with her dog Wrigley at the moment, who wants her to take her for a walk while she's watching us here on IMSA TV, at IMSA Radio. So far, Suzanne is winning, and I think with 52 minutes to go, Suzanne, unless you think you can get a quick run around the block done in a full course yellow, I think Wrigley's going to have to wait because this one looks like it's boiling up in an absolute cracker. The snatch vehicles are at the incident site, I've got a feeling that the Andretti car might have continued. Actually,
not only that, it came into the pits, ironically. So if it
for
made
the yellow that it caused.
Yeah.
Malte Jakobsen can't move that car, and there was fluid on the windscreen of that, so there's been some damage to one of the reservoirs at the front of the car. At IMSA Radio, by the way, if you want to get in touch. 51 minutes to go, Jeremy. The DPIs can't quite go that long.
No.
So a splash now, and then see what happens. Malte, by the way, has shuffled himself across the car to get out on the right-hand side, and he's done that without too much of an assist from the safety team. The car has got damage to the left front. Really good.
That was really unlucky for him.
Good weekend for him. Started off a little strangely with a few mistakes when he was maybe, even by his own admission, pushing a little bit hard before he really knew the track. But pole position, you can't take that away from him, and he'll be disappointed that that's ended in the way it has, with left rear suspension damage where he's clouted the wall. Absolutely without blame in that one. He was avoiding T-boning the Andretti car that came across the track in front of him.
Yeah, it was Gabby Chavez, and they were having a good little battle. He was only a second or so behind him, and that was building up quite nicely, that battle between the number 36 that was ahead of the number 33, but really unfortunate for Sean Creech Motorsports, because they've had a really strong run all weekend. The team's first pole position yesterday for the young Dane, and Joao Barbosa doing his usual sterling work as well. So that's a tremendous disappointment for that team. We've got all the LMP3 cars on the racetrack, and certainly surprising to see someone like Gabby Chavez, with all his experience, making a mistake like that, kind of losing it. I guess he must have lost it originally out of 13, and then ended up almost at 14, and still going sort of sideways and backwards across the road, which is when poor Malte Jakobsen had to make a decision, right or left, and he really didn't have much choice but to go left. And unfortunately, there you're off exactly what happened really pretty much to Sebastian Bourdais yesterday in qualifying.
Yes.
He put a wheel off on the left-hand side before turning into the right, and then he's a passenger from there on into the gravel trap and or the tyre wall.
So 49 minutes to go in this race. Next time out for the IMSA WeatherTech SportsCar Championship. It's beautiful, picturesque, not Road America, but VIR, Virginia International Raceway. It's the GT weekend, so just the two GT classes from the WeatherTech Championship, along with the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge and the Single Manufacturer Championship supporting as well, Porsche and Idemitsu MX-5. Got a bonus bit of Porsche coverage for you at the end of the month as well. That's Indianapolis for the Porsche Sports Car Together Festival, and we'll have coverage of that for you as well in sound and vision, whether you're here in the States or further afield, via IMSA.tv or the live video tab at IMSARadio.com. And then, of course, we're winding up to the big season finale, Michelin Raceway, Road Atlanta for Motul Petit Le Mans. 10 hours of racing there. Add a few voices into that. The bidding has already started at the Radio Show Limited and IMSA Radio team for the additional voices. Always a popular trip for our broadcast team to really the home of IMSA and the American Le Mans Series in the early days. Now, of course, based out of Daytona, Florida, but Road Atlanta inextricably linked with the late and much missed Dr. Don Panos, who started the American sports car journey for me back in 1998 when he asked me to come across and do the first Petit Le Mans. So that race, very dear to my heart. And if you can make it up there, it is a great atmosphere, akin to what we have here actually. Lots of camping as well, much smaller track, but great atmosphere to round off the season. And then 2023 is just around the corner, because on the Monday after Motul Petit Le Mans on the Saturday, we've got GTP testing at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. First of the sanctioned tests for IMSA and the 4 manufacturers who've already committed. So if you are around that area, stick your nose over the fence and see the cars from Porsche, the new 963, the BMW will be out there, the Cadillac and the Acura, all in an officially sanctioned test on track together, I think on the Monday and the Tuesday after Motul Petit Le Mans at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. Much excitement in the marshes for effectively that's 2023 season, Jeremy, starting right there.
In preview. And we've spoken to a few drivers this weekend who've driven the new breed of GTP cars for next season in the early phases of testing, and everyone we've spoken to have been pretty impressed with the cars. They're pretty complicated. There's a lot of different systems on the cars, particularly electronic and otherwise, with the new hybrid system that's going to be employed on them all next season as part of the sort of green look for IMSA. But so a lot of excitement, and all drivers really enjoy driving the cars. I've spoken to 3 or 4 at least this weekend.
700 horsepower.
Yeah, lots of grunt.
Very
really
quick
good
in a
straight line
line.
speed. A little bit less cornering speed, but that's going to extend the braking areas by just a little bit at least. I think the brakes are pretty darn good on new cars.
Yes.
But I think it should be, it's pretty exciting times.
And a point that Shea Adam has just made to me, after this race then, your final opportunity to see the DPI cars in competition. These cars at the moment are the fastest endurance prototype cars in the world, and they will bow out at Motul Petit Le Mans at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta for that season-ending race. So your last opportunity, if you're not here today, start making your plans to get to Road Atlanta. Pits are open for the prototype classes, and unsurprisingly, Shea Adam, you are about to have visitors. All of the top 5 are coming in. I'm waiting to see if the P2 cars and Pete will come in as well, but it is, Louis Delatraz comes in as well. So Tristan Vautier leading in the train. To you.
And all the prototypes, as far as the eye can see, have their pit boards swinging up on the wall. The first of which is that number 5 for Tristan Vautier. And surprise to no one, right up his tailpipes. Renger van der Zande, right up his tailpipes. Philippe Albacre, and right up his tailpipes was Ollie Jarvis. So a nice bit of camaraderie going on the pit lane. We have 4 new sticker Michelin tires going on to the 02 Cadillac, number 5 Cadillac, the number 1 Cadillac, the number 10 Acura, and the number 60 Acura. So that's new tires for all of our DPI contenders. Pippo Durrani still heading into his pit box as he hits his marks, waiting on the fuel pump. There we go. Fuel nozzle comes out for Tristan Vautier. Their service is done as Pippo Durrani service is beginning. These are scrubbed in Michelins going on the 31. We wait as, who was the next one to get out? It might have been Ricky Taylor, actually. Last of the lead cars to come in was the 02. That's the last car to go back out, is Earl Bamber. The first of the P2 cars to get back and rolling was the Tower Motorsport number 8, followed out very closely by the number 18 Era Motorsports prototype. In terms of LMP3, well, we just had a slight change because the 74 of Riley now leads the 13 of AWA and Matt Bell, and then the 54 of Colin Brown. So a big change up there as AWA now into the top 3.
Super bit of work from Meyershank Racing to get the 60 out ahead of everybody else. Big wheel spin as Ollie Jarvis took the car out. Actually, being the last pit there, you might think that's an advantage, but he actually turned quite tightly to his left-hand side to get in between the Michelin RFID readers. They're the clever bits of kit that read the chips in each of the 4 Michelin tyres. Gone are the days where you used to have the chalk marks or the Sharpie marks on the side of the cars, at the side of the tyres, to let you know how many sets you'd used. But it's all done by technology now. And Ollie Jarvis then out first and followed out by Philippe Albacre. Does that suggest that they put a little less fuel in those cars, maybe, to get the track position? 41 minutes to go. It's there, isn't it, Jeremy? That's about spot on for the DPIs, about 40 to 45 minutes, depending on how much full throttle you're using.
And you use a lot around here. So, yeah, it's certainly going to be tight from here.
So we have the mouth-watering prospect of what we saw at Watkins Glen with Philippe Albacre in what traditionally has been a slightly more trimmed-out Acura. This time, though, against Ollie Jarvis, rather than Tom Blomqvist, in the possibly a little more draggy Acura. So what can Ollie do, if anything, to try and keep Albacre behind him for the next, 38, maybe 35 minutes? And former teammates, of course, they have won at Daytona together.
Yeah, and having been nowhere today, that number 60 car, maybe they're going to have an opportunity here.
Well, it just goes to show, doesn't it? It's what Bill Oberlin always says. He's just got to keep digging.
Yeah.
And nobody knows that better than Mike Shank. Mike Shank himself is the absolute epitome of never give up, never give in, let's keep fighting. And sometimes the race comes back to you. Sometimes you've got to chase the race down. It looks like they've done quite a bit of chasing today, Jeremy, but they're there or thereabouts, and they've made this work for them as the GTD cars start to come into the pit lane, and it's Daniel Juncadella. None of the pro cars have committed to the pit lane as yet, so Shea, it's going to be the 79 WeatherTech car that comes to you first.
Yep, I think out of the pro cars, we did have Pfaff and the BMW in right before the caution came out. Corvette will be coming in, as will the 14 Lexus and the 23 Heart of Racing. New tires for all of those cars. But for the Daniel Juncadella Mercedes, this WeatherTech car getting fuel and 4 new Michelin tires. We've also got the other Mercedes, the Gilbert Cawthorpe one. That's the championship leader. They are into their box fuel and sticker tires for Mike Skeen. It's fuel and slightly scrubbed in tires for Jan Halen in the Wright Motorsport Porsche. Juncadella is already back out and rolling, heading back down the lane. We've got fuel only for Maxime Martin. He tries to jump the WeatherTech Racing Mercedes, does not work, but he does get ahead of Mike Skeen in the other Mercedes. Pit exit light is on. Juncadella goes through. Maxime Martin goes through. Both of those cars, well, Juncadella did not stop. Martin did stop, but well after the RFID sensors. Mike Skeen hit his brakes hard and did not go through it. By my money, that's a penalty for WeatherTech Racing. Now we see the 27 get rolling once again. I think Maxime Martin reacted in time, but he did actually trigger the pit exit before coming to a complete stop, so that might not suffice. That might be a drive-through penalty for a car looking to try and get better standing in this championship.
He was straddling the yellow line. He didn't go all the way across it. The front Michelins were there. You could say he didn't gain advantage and he didn't rejoin the racetrack. That's how I'd be arguing that if I was their team manager. Yeah. But no doubt about Juncadella, very excited and went straight out past the red lights. Just what we were talking about before, and that is going to be tremendously costly for that car and that team. Funny enough, the Aston Martin, I wondered why it was sitting, dropping back away from the WeatherTech number 79, and then I realised, of course, there was cars going by. So I'm pretty certain that in the Aston Martin, they had reckoned, oh yeah, there's the red light. Then they saw the leader go through and thought, okay, well we could go through as well. Oh no, they didn't go across. They didn't straddle the yellow line at the end of the pit lane. He pulled up just before it. It's going to come down to where the stop line is for the red light. But I reckon that Aston was okay. I had thought from the angle that we were looking at it from our Haggerty Global Broadcast Centre that they might have been across the red line. I'm beat in true baseball style, although the Brewers lost the lead last night, got beat by the Cincinnati Reds, but I'm told that the Aston was safe on that. Did manage to get in. Thank you, Nate. I think I've just impressed him with my knowledge of stick and ball sports over here. So the Aston is okay. However, I'm afraid it's a strikeout for Daniel Juncadella, who blew through the red stoplight at the end of pit lane.
So the number 9 FAF car came in before the caution period. He wasn't one that just beat them in. He came in before, didn't he?
Correct.
Right.
So he was on his outlap, I think, Jeremy, when the yellow flag incident happened.
Right. And interestingly, the other leaders in GTD Pro did not come in.
Yes, correct.
So they think they can stretch their fuel, presumably.
Yeah, as we go back
from
green.
Here.
Yeah, as we go back to green flag racing. Of course, if they had come in, Mathieu would have cycled back to the front, but he's still sitting there with more fuel and newer tyres to the cars that he's chasing down.
Correct.
Restart then.
And in GTD, the number 96, 57 and 12, also the 39, 1 and 42 did not come into the pits then, so they're trying to reach the end as well.
Good luck. Good luck with that, but a bit of yellow has certainly helped. Ollie Jarvis then restarts in the lead for Meyershank Racing in the number 60, the Auto Nation Sirius XM car. And hello to everyone listening around the US on SXM 207. That's our regular channel for IMSA WeatherTech. Car 90 gets the penalty for working in a closed pit stop, and the 36 the same. That is a stop plus 60 for those two cars. That's Gabby Chavez for Andretti Autosport. After that incident, working on the car in a closed pit. And what was the other one? I said car number 90. And that is the lead car for JDC Miller Motorsport and LMP3. They're going to have to give up the lead and stop. And also a stop plus 90 for the 79. We were expecting that for the WeatherTech car, with Daniel Juncadella going to have to come in, and he will lose a lot of time. That's going to be pretty much a full lap that all of those three cars will lose. But the big one there is the number 90, the JDC Miller Scott Andrews, number 90, the Duquesne at the head of LMP3, Jeremy, working on the car in a closed pit.
Yeah, and that's unfortunately that's the car that's currently leading, because that's going to have to give up that lead, obviously. They obviously didn't quite didn't quite beat that light, did they? I'm surprised.
No, working in a closed pit. If you yes,
so they
didn't beat the light. Sorry, yes, yeah. I see what you mean. Yeah, if they'd driven through, they would have been fine. The two Acuras have actually opened up a bit of a lead. Yeah. Here comes the three transgressors. Meantime, behind the two Acuras, there's a Cadillac battle going on. Oh, that's a little bit naughty going up the hill, a bit of moving around. Nice job by Earl Bamber, who was battling with Renger van der Zande there. Earl Bamber lost the position, got it back, lost it, and Renger van der Zande in the and Tristan Vautier, excuse me, in the 5 car, just holding his line going up the hill and refused to be intimidated by the other Cadillac moving around.
Kind of an over and under, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The 0-1 car went down the inside, I think it was the number 5 into turn 5, ran a bit wide, and Vautier got back up the inside into turn 6, didn't he? I think that's what happened there. So Vautier does get back to 3rd position. He lost it momentarily, but no more than that, luckily for him. Great stuff. We've got a great battle on our hands right now, in all of the classes, quite frankly.
Just on 33 minutes to go. All of the pit stops, all of the penalties being attended. Meantime,
that's the lead. The
lead for GT Daytona goes the way of the number 57, Phil Ellis, driven Winward Racing. He gets down the inside of Bill Auberlin at turn 5. Not many people have managed that down through the years. And then the battle for the lead at turn 1. The two Acuras are both off the track for a moment as the black and blue number 10 of Philippe Albacre trying to drive around the outside of the pink and white car. As they came in there, Ollie Jarvis is defending to the inside, to the right-hand side of the track. And they both move well. I don't think Albacre was on a winner there, to be honest. He went in very, very quickly. Ollie did move back out again, but it wasn't like he ushered him off the track there, Jeremy. Yeah. That was slightly too optimistic, I think, by Philippe there on the outside. Took too much speed into turn 1 on that line.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that one. And but a fascinating battle here. All of a sudden, these two Acuras have come alive and pulling away now from Tristan Vautier, who's I think probably, well, almost certainly holding up Renger van der Zande. So van der Zande thought he'd made that pass, didn't make it stick though.
Wayne Taylor saying to Shea Adam in the Michelin Countdown to Green, we want to win the Acura Championship, which probably means they'd be somewhere near the front of the championship. They took the points for pole position, Jeremy. Just remind everybody what the situation is in the championship after 5 second places by that number 60 car that brought them here in the lead, but barely.
Yeah, that's right. They came in here with a 56-point edge over in the number 60 car over the number 10, but with the pole position for the number 10 car, they reduced that deficit by 5 coming into this race. So it is super tight.
And the gap, in terms of the gap between points for first and second, what does that add up to?
For the race, it's 350 to 320 to 300.
Right, okay.
Position. This battle in LMP2, this is right on here. The top 3 cars absolutely or 2 cars, excuse me, going past the LMP3 car of Gabby Chavez.
And as far as the manufacturer championship in DPI, can that be wrapped up by Acura today? If they're but they're still ahead of Cadillac, are they?
Yeah.
Right.
No.
Well,
no, it can't.
Is there extra
they could use them tight. If they win, Cadillac get the pole, and the win at Petit Le Mans will leave them tied on wins, poles, and everything else.
Oh, really?
So yeah, not quite sure what happens then.
And then Acura would win it because they won the first race.
Possibly. Need to check up on that. It's a very good point, and that's something you need to check up on.
Right. Okie dokie. Ollie Jarvis, having been challenged a lap or so ago at turn 1, has managed to eke out a wee bit of a lead. But it's all relative here. He's down at Canada Corner at the moment, and these two are putting on a bit of a display. The red flashing rain lights on the tails of these cars, the high-intensity machines, still on from earlier on in the race. And Ollie Jarvis trying to break this... at least on the Konica Minolta car, trying to break the second place finishes, and down at turn 5, Bill Oberlin, the 96 car, getting turned around again at turn 5, getting hit again at turn 5. This time he is turned around. It was by the Aaron Thielitz driven machine of the Lexus. That was the number 12 down there. That was all a bit unnecessary, I think. So Bill Oberlin slipping back down through the field there. So Thielitz through into second now, behind Phil Ellis for Mercedes and Winward, the number 57 car, who went through at the same spot, although rather cleaner 2 laps ago. The lead has come back down again at turn 6. Now round about, 5 car lengths between first and second. 28 minutes to go.
Yeah. Are they going to need a pit stop? That's the big question here. I think I'd be surprised if all the leaders didn't need to make a pit stop. I think that's probably why Ollie Jarvis is they're all pushing so hard right now.
There doesn't seem to be much fuel saving going on at the moment, Jeremy, does there?
They're just showing their fastest laps. Last 3 laps in a row, Oliver Jarvis has turned that car's fastest lap of the race, 52.333 last time around. The race lap record, by the way, here is a 51.0. That was by Dane Cameron back in 2020. Cameron also set the fastest lap last year at a 51.6. The fastest lap in this race is also 51.6. That was by Alex Lynn, I think, early on.
Yeah. Down at Canada Corner, the battle for the lead in LMP2. The orange and black car is the Tower Motorsport Louis Delatraz driven car. The blue car behind him coming to the final corner now, turn 14, the uphill right-hander, or the right-hander that leads to the uphill at least. That is Ryan DL. Knows his way around this place, loves this place, been successful at this place, as have Era Motorsport. It will surprise no one to hear that when I tell you the 12 Lexus and the 96 BMW is being reviewed. However, I suspect that Turner Motorsport will be surprised to hear that that has led to no action there. Shit.
Meyer Shank Racing Crew and the Wayne Taylor Racing Crew, they're both good on field to the end.
All right. Okay. So the two Acuras are all right. Now speak to some Cadillacs, please. Thank you, Shit.
I think that if one is, I think they probably all are. I'd be surprised if that wasn't the case.
They're on pretty much the same strategy, those two
They're
cars.
absolutely on the same strategy. Yeah, they all came in to the pits at the same time for their final stop, so they all should have a full tank of fuel.
That last yellow flag helping everybody out there. To be able to come in.
Yeah, but there's number 60 car vaulting from 4th place before the stops to the lead afterwards.
Yeah, that's a good point. I wondered if that was strategic, but had they stopped more recently than everybody else? So was that by dint of the fact they just didn't need as much fuel, Jeremy?
Yeah, absolutely.
So that actually worked for them. Yeah, okay.
Lesser pace.
Yeah,
has helped them. Look at the lead he's got now. It's the biggest lead.
Over a second now, as they've just gone past us. There he goes. And in front of them, the BMW of Bill Oberlin, who will be somewhat disappointed to have been nerfed out of a position.
It's an understatement.
Yes, and that was a solid podium position, ruled as no action required, NFA, no further action. Racing incident, therefore. Huge train of cars now, GT cars ahead of the leaders. Now, Ollie Jarvis will be going, are you kidding me? I've just built up a second lead, and now I've got to pick my way through this lot. They do have spotters around the circuit here. Lexus down the inside was halfway down there and just kept pushing. That was the other thing from the apex out. That's the bit that I thought was unnecessary. The contact fine. Oh, on the grass and a pass for the lead. Down to turn number 8. Is this a pass on the grass for the lead of the race? Yes, it is. But now one either side of the BMW, number 25, which is back out. What a pass. What a move by Philippe Albacre. His Michelin's giving him grip on the damp grass out of turn 7 on the left-hand side of the track. And that traffic that I said that Ollie Jarvis would be hating seeing in front of him is done for his lead, but now can he use it to his advantage as he comes up on the Aston Martin and the Lamborghini, the blue and white car. They're down at Canada Corner in amongst this battle. Corvette in there as well. They're all battling for position, these GT cars. Left and right for Philippe Albacre, actually right and left as he came through Bill Mitchell Bend, and he's picking through it. This looks like one of those challenges when you're doing your licenses in one of the GT driving games. You have to pass 26 GT cars in 2 laps. Go. And Philippe Albacre has done that and more. He's taken the lead with 23 minutes to go. And once again, Meyer Shank Racing find themselves in second position. But this time, it's Tristan Vautier who's chasing them down, and he's only about another second further back. The Cadillacs are coming. Shea Adam, what's the news from the Cadillac camps about their fuel?
Quote, it's tight.
Which one was that? All of them?
That was Peter Barron for the 01 Cadillac
right.
of Chip Ganassi Racing. But the other ones I've talked to have said the same thing. Yeah, we think we can make it, but we think isn't enough.
Okay. Well, let's wait to see how it plays out. We've had drama here in the past. Unbelievable manoeuvre. It was the Rick Ware Racing Acura, ironically, that made the check-up happen for Ollie Jarvis, and the 2 DPI Acuras went one either side of that purple and yellow machine coming out of turn 7. But definitely had Philippe Albacre on the grass. Now, off the track? Is that off the track pass? I don't know. He had some of the cars still on the hard standing. That's extraordinary.
That was just desire. But
Yeah.
I mean, total commitment there from Philippe Albacre. I'm not saying that Oliver Jarvis wasn't committed, but Oliver Jarvis just hesitated just a little bit, and Philippe Albacre saw his opportunity and went for it.
Two Cadillacs trading paint down into Canada corner, and they've both gone off. And thank you so much
Earl Bamber.
to Earl Bamber, who vaults from 5th into 3rd position as Tristan Vautier and Renger van der Zanden decided to get rather more intimate than I think either of them were expecting there. And got a bit closer to those of you sitting on the bleachers down there than you might have expected. Well, we pointed out at the start of the show that start of the race that that would be an action area, and it certainly has been. Phil back in the UK saying, can you hide the checkered flag, please? This is amazing racing. Really quick on the straight again, that Acura, just as it was. The Philippe Albacre car, just as it was. Oh, and here's Durrani right in the mix as well now. After that hip check down to continue the sporting analogies, hip and a little bit of hip and shoulder for the two Cadillacs. They were leaning on each other there. And past, Durrani almost ran into the back of Vautier as he came up to the Bill Mitchell bend. And once again, it's the same story between the two Acuras, Jeremy. Philippe Albacre seemed to have a little bit more in the straight. With that pass, when the Rick Ware NSX was out there, Ollie was slightly unfortunate because he caught it early, just as he was trying to get back on the throttle from turn 7. Actually, if Albacre had been as close as he had been on the previous laps, it probably wouldn't have been such an advantage. But because he was about 3/4 of a second back, he got the run through turn 7 and didn't have to check up. But as you said, onto the grass with total desire to take that full commitment from Philippe Albacre. What a pass that was. And he's pulled out 2.6 seconds now to Ollie Jarvis in 2nd place. Let's check the other classes for you. LMP2, cracking battle going on there as well, you know, between the number 8, the black and orange car, and the blue number 18, Delatraz versus DL. And they're slowing each other down just a little bit. Fabio Scherer for High Class Racing, the red and white car with now the black nose. 4 seconds behind, he's got Josh Pearson in his wheel tracks.
And Tristan Nunez.
So those three are gently closing in on the leaders. And with 19 minutes left, that battling pair up front, with just half a second between Delatraz and DL, they're being caught by the pursuers. Felipe Fraga has 8 seconds on the AWA of Matt Bell, who is just ahead of Colin Brown from Core Autosport, 74.13 and 54. GTD Pro, still the scrap going on between, which has been going on since the drop of the green flag at the start of the race. Vassar Sullivan's number 14, the yellow and black Lexus, and then the Porsche of Mathieu Jaminet, the number 9 plaid car, and right in there Tonio Garcia and Ross Gunn. Those 4 are all together. There's barely a couple of seconds between the top 4. Phil Ellis leads for Winwood Racing by 5.5 seconds in the dark coloured number 57 AMG from Westphal. Jeff Westphal in the carbon. That's the dark grey with green stripes on it. That's the carbon Lamborghini, the 39 car, and he's a second ahead of Aaron Tielitz in the number 12. That's the second of the Vassar Sullivan Lexus. That's your field rundown for you in race update with VP Racing Fuels. Let's go to Winwood Racing now, and Russell Ward, who's with Shea Adam.
Russell, I'm so impressed with this whole team. After the heartbreak that came at Lime Rock based off fuel, you guys are rolling the dice once again. It's win or bust, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, we should be fine on fuel, just as we were on Lime Rock. You know, we had a fuel pump failure on the final lap, so... But, I mean, I'm not holding my breath until the race is over. There's 17 minutes left, and you never know what's going to happen. But, you know, according to what we're looking at and the brains that we have here on the timing stand, everything should be good with fuel.
You did manage to get a win in another series the week after. How good did it feel for Redemption to be back in victory lane?
Yeah, look, I mean, it's been coming the whole year. So, I mean, you know, keeping our fingers crossed, and, you know, I don't want to jinx it at all. We just leave it the way it is. So Philip's doing an awesome job out there, and and really proud of the team and everybody. So it's going to be good.
We're getting close to 2023. A lot of plans coming out and being announced. Can you give us any indication of where Windward will be in next year as far as the U.S. is concerned?
Yeah, look, we'll be in this series with the Mercedes AMG. I mean, we love this series and work really well with Mercedes AMG. So we'll definitely be here. And in what full capacity, I don't know. I mean, me and Philippe will be driving, so it'll be I think we'll have a really good shot next year at winning the championship.
Awesome. Thanks, Russell. Good luck.
Thank you.
And if you see Russell's dad, Bryce, down there, Bryce Ward down there, say hello from me. Dashing in and out of meetings earlier in the week, I sort of waved at him from a distance, but didn't get a chance to have a chat. What a character he is, and what a story that is. With those guys coming into racing just a handful of years ago, and now having expanded the operation, not just here in the States, but with a parallel operation in Europe. Christian Hohenadel, big part of that in Germany, running cars out of there, including in the DTM, of course, which now runs to the GT3 specification. 15 minutes to go, Jeremy, just over, and battles throughout the field. Albacre with a 2-second lead now, but Earl Bamber is the threat to Ollie Jarvis, and Jarvis now really needs to make it 6 second places in a row for that team to hold on to that championship lead. He's got his hands full with the Kiwi closing in very quickly.
Yeah, and there's just some fantastic battles going on here all the way down the field. It's really exciting, but yeah, Oliver Jarvis has got some work cut out now, because Earl Bamber, having taken advantage of that little skirmish between the number 01 car, his teammate, and the number 5 down at Canada Corner, has got himself up into 3rd position and looking to make hay and catch up and pass Oliver Jarvis. That's his goal. So it's Acura 1-2 at the moment, and the time is still nearly 15 minutes though remaining in this race.
There's no doubt in my mind that whatever it is that they're doing with that number 60 car, it needs more rear wing to get the balance comfortably for their two drivers than the other Acura. You can actually see it. A number of people tweeted in at IMSA Radio. By the way, let's have your questions, comments, and point to rising. Hashtag Michelin PRT. Going to have to be a short one today because we've got a race, unusually a race following us. That'll be on IMSA Radio RS2 around the world. Thank you if you've been listening on Sirius XM 207. Remember, all of the IMSA WeatherTech SportsCar races live and without interruption on Sirius XM, and it is normally 207 as well. So if you can't make VIR or Road Atlanta, then make sure you tune in if you are so equipped. Under 14 minutes to go now. Chevrolet Corvette, it's the number 3 car. Just trying to come through the GT field. That last class split split the field up between GTD Pro and GTD. So put a lap between them.
All of a sudden, Albuquerque's lead has gone away.
It has. Traffic, Jeremy. Giveth and taketh away. Helped him with the lead, didn't give him it. He had to still work. So the top 3 now, Jeremy, how about this? Are within a second down at turn 3, going under the Sargento Cheese Bridge now. And we've seen Ollie Jarvis in defend mode. Now what's he going to be like in attack mode? Well, he's going to have to do a bit of both here. And Renger van der Zende is another 3 seconds further back, so he's not quite in this mix as yet. 3 steps on the podium, 2 Acuras and a Cadillac in those positions at the moment, but I wouldn't put any money on 1060 and 02 even being on the podium at the end. This could get very spicy indeed. Championship implications for the 2 Acuras and manufacturer championship implications if the Cadillac can get ahead of the 2 Acuras.
Yeah, monumental championship aspirant. You're absolutely right, because right now, if that number 10 car can maintain position ahead of the number 60 car, then they would be the 60 car will still lead, but by just 21 points would be the gap if those positions stay the same with just over 12 minutes remaining. That's a big if.
That is a big if. And in the Manufacturer Championship, with just the 2 marks represented, of course, this year, Cadillac will be desperate to grab another win before the end of the season. There go the leaders, past us down towards turn 1. Yeah. And again, a little gaggle of cars ahead of them. The GT category, it's the GT leaders actually that they're coming up to. Jeff Westphal in the Carbon car, right ahead of the leaders. He's a very, very savvy driver. And in GTD Pro, they're at turn 6, heading to turn 7 now. This has been a full race battle, Jeremy, between the number 14, first with Jack Hawksworth, now with Ben Barnicat, and the 2 Matties, Manny Campbell, who started the FAF Motorsport number 9 Porsche, and now Mathieu Jaminet. Now, what's happened in LMP2? Well, the answer is at Canada Corner last time around, Ryan DL with a copybook manoeuvre down the inside, and he's gone by Delatraz and pulled out a seconds lead.
Wow.
So,
but was there something flew off one of the cars there as he went past him?
Maybe there was a little side rub there. The era.
Tell you what, Fabio Scheerer's right there as well, isn't he? All of a sudden,
yeah.
That gap was 7 seconds about 8 laps ago.
I did say it, Jeremy, with those 2 fighting, and the times it was about a half a second plus a lap that Scherer was coming in on them. He's slightly pulled Nunes with him, but
he is.
Yeah. Nunes is now only another 2 seconds further back.
And he was quickest of all on that last lap. Nunes was.
So Ryan DL, Era Motorsport, know how to win here. And Jeremy's giggling because we're being shown again on our screens in the Haggerty Global Broadcast Centre the pass for the lead. And thanks, by the way, I must say this now, great thanks this weekend for all the hard work to our TV crew, both here at the track and at Charlotte. All of the production is done, and it's been a cracking job across all of our series here. So thank you to all, particularly to Victoria, you helping us out. Good to have you on board, Vix. Keith D'Alessandro, as ever, and his team up at Charlotte for NASCAR Productions, making sure we've seen all of the action around the circuit. And you benefiting here at the track as well with some of the new screens around the circuit. It's been piped up onto there as well for the sessions that we've had the pictures for. You have as well. So now the lead is down at turn number 8, and traffic has cleaned it right up down the inside. It's going to be a pass down the inside in the carousel. It's the same car, would you believe it? The Rick Ware NSX, and again it's gone the way of the black and blue Acura, and wheel spin out of the corner.
No, he got a nudge from behind.
Ollie Jarvis, excuse me.
He hesitated a little bit there before going
past. He's off the track.
Yep.
Jarvis is off, and he's in the wall. He's in the wall. Ollie Jarvis hit from behind originally by Earl Bamber, and that threw the car sideways and off the track, and then into the wall on driver's right. And again the traffic, and again, ironically, the Rick Ware Racing NSX unwittingly involved in that full course yellow. Well, that car will be able to pit for a new nose as under emergency service, but I think, is there more than that?
I think so, John.
Needs to come in, has missed the pit commit, missed the pit commit, could have come in and changed the nose under emergency service.
But we're probably going to go for, we may well not finish this race. Let's have a look here, see what happened.
So through the kink and put off on the left-hand side, and a straight hit on the nose of that car. It straightened it up and carried it on. My goodness, that is a very, very... Yeah, I said that.
Ouch.
Very, very strong car. It actually all started at the exit of turn number turn number 8.
9, yeah.
When they got into the traffic, and then coming out of the carousel, there was a touch behind. Now, did that break something on the back of that car and therefore take the downforce away? Not certain. Let's have a look at that. Huge amount of debris is why we're under full course yellow.
Yes.
Jarvis has continued and gone past the pits, by the way.
Yes, he has.
He
in
might
the 4th
actually,
position.
Yes, I was going to say he's in
4th position.
4th now.
I think
Van der Zande went through. Yes, he did. Yeah.
But I think we're unlikely to get back to green. There's a lot of debris on the track at the exit to the kink, which needs to be cleaned up.
Yeah. Pits are closed, of course, at this point.
Yeah, we're inside the final 15 minutes.
Correct. So, will not open. So, good call by the Meyershank Racing team, telling Ollie to stay out, because if this doesn't go back green, that car will pick up 4th place. So this freezes the field. Let's give you a VP Racing Fuel update. Phil Ellis for Winward Racing, along with Russell Ward, who started the race leading in GTD, the number 57 dark blue and black car. Carbon Westphal in that car. Jeff Westphal in that car, the number 39. That's the dark grey and green machine. There was 27 seconds between those guys. What happened there?
No,
Did they get
just
passed
because
by the leaders?
No, yes.
Yeah.
The
So that
39
can't
car
get we'll get the wave round and everybody sort of back out. Then Aaron Thielitz.
We're going to finish under yellow, I think, John,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Vassar Sullivan, Aaron Thielitz in 3rd, the number 12 Lexus. Brian Sellers for Paul Miller Racing and BMW, the best of the BMWs in 4th. Marco Holzer for NTE SSR. Well, he was the car that came in first, if you remember, and he was 11th in the class. And we said that was a bit of a roll of the dice. He's going to end up, he made his last pit stop at just on the hour, didn't he? Although we've had some yellow since then. Holzer then up into 5th position for the number 42 Lamborghini. Harter Racing 27 Aston Martin makes up the top 6 in that category. Sorry, Jeremy, go ahead.
No, the reason I said ooh there was I just noticed that the number 16 car, excuse me, running down in 7th position in GTD. Jan Halen got past Mike Skeen, I think on that lap. Yeah, on that lap. So I don't know how or why were they mixed up in that little fracas there down at,
I think
they probably were.
Yeah, they were. There was a gaggle of cars around that area on the
that has major championship implications, because coming into the weekend, the number 32 car was ahead of the number 16, but by not very much. Yeah,
ahead of the right Porsche.
Yeah, by only 40 points coming into the weekend. So
it's going to close that down.
Every position is critical in that battle.
As we continue the VP Racing Fuels in-race rundown, Ben Parnigan leads for Vassar Sullivan.
Yeah, here we go, white flag. So
white flag, so we are going to finish under yellow. Well, let's run through this then. Vassar Sullivan, number 14, lead and will win in GTD Pro. Jaminet for Pfaff Motorsport in 2nd. Corvette will be 3rd. Aston Martin will be 4th in GTD Pro. It'll be Riley Motorsport, Philippe Albacre from Matt Bell for AWA. For Court Autosport for Colin Brown. That's your top 3 there, 74, 13 and 54. Ryan DL and Era Motorsport. Era defending the race win that they had here last year, ahead of Tower Motorsport and High Class Racing. What a weekend for those cars. That ending up with an unliveried nose on that number 20, the red and white car. And Philippe Albacre with another victory for Konica Minolta Acura, and they will close up substantially on Meyershank Racing, who finished 4th. Between them, the 02 and the 01 Cadillacs of Bamba and Van der Zande collecting points as well. Shea Adam
actually, John.
Yeah, go ahead.
In actual fact,
is that the lead of the championship?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, because of
those extra 2 positions.
And the points for pole position as well.
Well, yeah, not so much that, because I mean that was a 5-point swing, but they were running 2nd, number 60 car. Now it's running 4th. It's that change there that is the difference between hanging on to the lead and not. So assuming they can finish this last lap, then Albuquerque and Taylor will take over the championship lead.
I wonder if we could just have a look slightly further back. It was just as they were coming out of the carousel that there was a touch on the back of Ollie Jarvis's car, and as he was coming through the kink, the back end was on the ground. There was something scraping on the ground of that car. So I just wonder, it was as he was passing the Rick Ware car, wasn't it?
He just hesitated before duck into the inside. He might have got a lightest of taps from behind, but
it's not often you see a car in the wall at the kink at that speed and continue.
No,
just wiped its nose.
Yeah, really.
Just wiped its nose off the car. All the wheels point in the right direction. I mean, it's bad luck that that's happened, but my goodness, I don't even think the tracking's out on that car. I honestly, I bet they could string that car now and it would be absolutely right. Well, it's another so close and yet so far for Maishank Racing in the number 60, but what it gives us, Jeremy, is a phenomenal end to the season with winner take all from the Acuras at the end of the race at Michelin Raceway Road, Atlanta.
That's excuse me, exactly right. So 3,066 points unofficially. I mean, they haven't crossed the start-finish line yet, so probably shouldn't be doing this. But 3,066 to 3,047 for the number 60 team. In third position, having had a really eventful race, Renger van der Zende and Sebastian Bourdais. Well, everybody's had an eventful race, haven't they? But they'll be in third position on 29.14, so 150 points back, which is
extra points for the longer race as well. Don't forget.
No extra points for longer races. No.
Okay.
So.
So that's for the endurance cup.
Yeah,
of course,
so it is
points,
then 29.14, so 250, 100 points. No, so that is going to mean the champion is going to come down to those two Acuras.
So even if they both didn't finish, they can't be overhauled by the Acura, so long as they make 70%, or even it doesn't matter.
No, that doesn't matter either.
Start the race. Okay.
Yeah, because we'll probably have the 48 car there, won't we? So we'll have 6 cars, so you get 250 points for 6th position. That's a 100 point between 350 for winning, 250 for 6th position. So that's a 100 point swing, and they are 150 points ahead, 152 points ahead of the third place car. So even with the qualifying points of 35.
We didn't want to jinx anything before the car had officially crossed the finish line, but now it is another win for Wayne Taylor Racing for Konica Minolta Acura. Let's see if we can get Ricky Taylor to jump down. He gives his mom a pat on the head, and yep, he's coming out this way. Excellent. Ricky, another win on the season, but a win at Road America. It's a little bit more special since this is a track that I think it's been, 2 years since your last win here?
I think more importantly, it's the first win for Wayne Taylor Racing ever here. And special shout out to Bill Mullen. He's won every track on the schedule except for this one. So this is, he's been wanting to retire until he checked this off. So hopefully he doesn't retire, but now he's done them all. And I didn't do much today. This was all about Philippe and the guys. I just drove for a bit of the wet part of the race, and Philippe's been so strong all weekend. I was like, just give him the car, he knows what to do, and he did an amazing job. I feel bad for Jarvis. It looked like he just got picked up on the tires or something there. But yeah, great day for Acura, great day for Konica Minolta, and we're going to really enjoy this for the next, month and a half off. It's going to be nice.
It looked like a little bit difficult for you, though, at least when you were out there on the slick tires and it started raining. That had to get your attention pretty quick.
Yes, it did. That was quite an introduction to the race. It's just managing risk, really, at that point in the race. With, where we were in the championship and stuff, the other one had much more to risk and let him go. And the car was great in those conditions. It's just managing risk, how much you want to risk to find the pace. And then when they put the wets on, okay, this is easier. But under those wet conditions on the slicks was a long time. And looking back, obviously, it would have been nice to have wets at that time, but you can't predict the future. And I think with the information we had, the team made the right calls all day long.
Congrats on another win, and I feel like I've said this before, the championship comes down to Motul Petit Le Mans. Good luck there.
Thank you. It's never easy.
Very good. Very good for those guys. What a rich vein of form they are on. Acura edging ever closer to the Manufacturers' Championship as well, with a little bit of arithmetic, which Jeremy, I think, will confirm. I think the Sprint Cup title has gone to PMR, Paul Miller Racing, in GTD before the final round of that championship, Jeremy, at VIR next time out.
Yeah, they came in with a substantial lead of 211 points, and so they will not now be able to be beaten. They finished fourth again this weekend, and ahead of their closest rivals as well.
Shea Adam is making her way down to the podium. We'll have a chat with her as she's walking down. Flip your mic up, Shea, and let's have a little reflection on that. We said in our keys to the race that drive time strategy would change things a little bit, but more importantly, weather and tyres. And my goodness, how important was that early on? JDC made the right call, and bizarrely, they've ended up in 5th position.
Yeah, the racing just didn't pan out for them in quite the same manner. I mean, we had a lot of cars that wound up making the right call early on, but then the weather conditions staying dry, that really affected things as well. And my biggest thought is, of that WeatherTech Mercedes, what woulda, coulda, shoulda happened if Daniel Giuncadella stopped at the red light, because that car was super strong too. Yeah,
that's a very good point, and they've gifted that to another AMG, Winwood Racing, Phil Ellis, and Russell Ward. Fabulous run for them, and nice to hear they'll be back next year. And what a great race, Shea, in GTD Pro between the Vassar Sullivan Lexus and the Fafmo. That was literally flag to flag racing from those guys. And when we look at our Valkyrie stat attack on Midweek Motorsport on Wednesday, I'm guessing that will be the battle of the race, because I don't think they were more than 3 seconds apart for the whole race.
No, and everybody's going to remember this season for the end of Daytona for the GTD Pro category. In my book, this race was better than that scrap, because it was the entirety of the race between 3 different cars. Yeah, wow, we got a real treat today from them. Yeah, Garcia up into 3rd there, Aston Martin in 4th. More bad luck for BMW. Riley Motorsports ahead of Matt Bell's AWA and Core Autosport. Colin Brown finishing off there in LMP3. But what about Aero Motorsport defending the race they won last year, Shea? Well, and for Bill Riley, this is a big win here for your team in LMP3. Felipe Fraga bossed it at the end of that race. But how hard was your organization working this whole week?
Oh, it was pretty tough. I mean, we had the 2 cars in GS, so that didn't make it any easier. And obviously the weather, the yellows just happened to hit with our strategy perfect. And so I want to say we had perfect strategy. I think it was more that we guessed right. So it was a good deal. And Felipe and Gards did a phenomenal job, and the whole team did. And now looking forward to Motul Petit Le Mans for the end of the season. Go out there and win. That's the only target? Yeah, I mean, that's all we can do. Core's a great team. They're really fierce competitors, and they're friends. But we have to beat them, and we've got to beat them hard. So we're going to have to run as fast as we can, as hard as we can. Well, good luck there. Congrats on today. Thank you very much.
Some more points. Let's look at LMP2. John Ferrano will continue to lead the points on 1640 with the win today, a brilliantly earned victory by Ryan DL. He and Dwight Merriman, 2nd win in a row here at Road America, will move up to 2nd on 1640. Then next up on 1547 will be Stephen Thomas, 1532, Henrik Hedman and Juan Pablo Montoya. In the teams championship, however, that's a little bit different. Number 52 team, despite finishing 5th here, will still lead in the team championship, because they've been running different drivers in different races. So they will have 1659 to the 1640 of Tower Motorsport. That's number 8 car. 3rd position with number 18 on 1607. So very, very tight in LMP2. LMP3, John Bennett and Colin Brown finishing 3rd today, 1 position ahead of Garrett Grist and Ari Balog. That'll extend their championship lead now from 17-16. Actually, Gar Robinson with a win today will move into 2nd place. 17-16 for John Bennett and Colin Brown. 16-33 for Gar Robinson, and 15-97 now, having finished 4th will move down from second place in championship, Garrett Grist and Ari Baylog for Junior 3 racing.
Let's head to Shea Adam here in Michelin post-race tech. Effectively, we'll run these together because we're tight. Shea Adam has the winners in GTD.
Well, Russell, when I talked to you a few minutes before the end of the race, we were talking about fuel and being able to make it. It's finally here, another win. You're second to back up the 24 Hours at Daytona a couple years ago. How's it feel to be a race winner at Road America?
Yeah, first time here in the GT3 and, first race win this year. So it feels good. It's been coming and unfortunately it didn't happen earlier, but man, it's just super exciting, and the team did an amazing job. The strategy was good, and the pit stops were great, and Philippe absolutely, drove to the field. He was the star of the show, so, just over the moon.
Congratulations to both you guys.
Thank you.